classical examples we can actually cite with respect to Seebeck effect. And then the next is, this is Seebeck effect, and you can also use this give a voltage and generate cooling. So that's nothing but Peltier effect. So Seebeck heating and Peltier cooling. So now let us concentrate on this thermoelectric materials. Because if you have a thermoelectric material, in principle, you can actually generate you can have a thermoelectric generator and a thermoelectric cooler. These are the two sides of the same material. Only thing, the technology we are going to use is slightly different. So if you look at the evolution of thermoelectric materials, right from the beginning, you can see in the 50s, though this was discovered in 1821 and all, the need for extracting or taking out useful energy became a concept in the 50s. So earlier people used to work on semiconductors, and then they went on to a particular type of materials called phonon glass electron crystal. I'll have an opportunity to tell you what is this phonon glass electron crystals, and this came up in the 1960s. Actually, we'll try to emphasize on this and then develop our concept on thermoelectric materials. And in the 70s, 80s, and now this took this particular field, thermoelectric materials, especially with the advent of nanotechnology, this set of materials got a flip from a well-known scientist called Brusselhaus. I think she was in MIT. I think she passed away recently. So that was in the 2000 and late 2000. And she only introduced the concept of nanostructuring thermoelectric materials for modifying its properties. I'll come to that later. So we are in 2022. Now let us just have a look. What exactly is a thermoelectric power generation and a thermoelectric? You just look at it. So now I am not defining with respect to two dissimilar metals. Because the earlier thermocouple I defined with respect to two dissimilar metals. Now I am going to take a P and N. This is not the conventional semiconductor. We will have to fuse it together and we need to have a junction and things like that. This is all in millimeter range. This thing. So I have a P-type semiconductor, I have an N-type semiconductor, I have a heat source and I have a heat sink. And suppose I maintain the thermal gradient. Now the holes flow in this direction and the electrons flow in this direction. So you have a current, and you can, if you connect a dot, you can actually get a voltage either in millivolt or microvolts. So this is just the opposite. This is thermoelectric generator. So if you have a P and then two modules, two independent P and N modules, you connect it through a conductor, and then you can also give a voltage, and you can actually create coolness. This is nothing but, on the left side you have the Seebeck effect, and on the right side of this particular view graph you have an example for Peltier effect, so thermoelectric cooling. So let us move ahead. Now this is what it is from a physics point of view. I have simplified it. So one Seebeck device coupled consists of one N-type and one P-type semiconductor pellet. This is typically you make a pellet, you connect it by a good conductor with a clean copper. You can also do it, and that's what we tried, and that's why the title of my talk is a material to device approach. How we have modified the material property and how we have demonstrated a thermoelectric generator. So that's the title. So I need to tell you about this. So this is it. So this is the cold side, this is the hot side, and this is typically this is lifted from a site. Steve no. So this is typically the earlier materials were based on bismuth telluride and lead telluride, and now nobody wants to have lead anywhere in their device, and that's what I emphasized on lead free. Now, so this is the typical example. Now the question is, so when you apply, there is a thermal gradient between these two sides. So you have the delta T. So you say that delta T applied mobile charge carrier. Here the mobile charge carriers are, on this side you have the hole, on the other side you have the electron. So their direction also is there, there will be a current flow, and if you connect a load, you get a voltage. Now the question is, this is a very small one. For example, if I am making a pellet, I am trying to make a device, then it will be something like 10 mm as you do in your lab. So that will be hardly producing one module, I mean 1 p-n unit will be producing something like microvolt. So we need in millivolts in volts. So what you do, you connect different modules. So then if you wanted to, then you have this PN, get a series of PNs, and then electrically you connect it series and thermally connect it in parallel. So you get you can actually construct a thermoelectric device. So this is the now similarly, this is Seebeck effect, and this is the thermoelectric generator. And when you come to the Peltier effect, and that is nothing but cooling, because Reggie knows about Peltier cooling, because people use it in lasers and other things. So you can actually, because you can also make it in thin film form, micro miniaturized form, things like that. So this is the refrigeration, not nothing but which was on the principle of Peltier effect. So just the opposite. So you have that was when delta T was applied. Now you are going to give a delta V, and now you are going to draw out heat from a source, and that produces cooling, just like your ordinary refrigeration. So this is the other side of it, that is called thermoelectric. Now, why it is important? Thermoelectric is becoming important. People are giving a lot of money for working on this. Because this is a clean, I mean, this is an alternative to our conventional fuels. So if you can save in carbon credits, why not do it? So replace compression-based refrigerators like Peltier coolers, seats with thermoelectric heating. That's what I was telling you about the high-end manufacturers putting their, they put a Peltier cooler if the car is in Europe, and or a Peltier heater. In Europe, and Peltier cooler in Gulf. So now the question is, this is all about blah blah about the need for doing thermoelectrics and other things. So what exactly, why are we having a problem with this material? And that can be understood by looking at this. Now, if the performance characteristic of a thermoelectric material is well defined by ZT, it's a dimensionless quantity. Now you have S square sigma T by K. K is in degree absolute. So sigma is the electrical conductivity. S is the thermoelectric power. And now K is the thermal conductivity. T is temperature in degree absolute. So now the question is, you have to decide the operating temperature. So the operating temperature can be from room temperature to a temperature around 800 degrees or even beyond that. So you need a material which produces a meaningful voltage at that operating temperature. So that's very important. Now let us forget about the operating temperature. Let us come to what are the factors. Now you say that I need, so we look at this. ZT is the performance characteristic. Suppose I say that I have an ZT of 0.6 or above 0.6 or 1. It's a very good thermoelectric material. It's very efficient. Now what do? What is the problem? That's what we must look at. The problem is, for example, you need to have a very good sigma, good electrical conductivity. Why a good electrical conductivity is needed? Because you wanted to minimize the Joule heating in the material. Joule heating is nothing but I squared R, isn't it? You want to minimize that. Now, thermoelectric power. So that is S, Seebeck coefficient. Thermoelectric power you need to have a high because it is in S square. The expression for ZT is S square. Now the question is, forget about T right now. The operating temperature or the range at which you wanted to operate the device. Now K, thermal conductivity must be very low. Very low thermal conductivity. Because it's in the denominator, you need to have a high ZT. So there is also a physics point of view. Why you need to have a very low thermal conductivity? Because you wanted to keep the gradient, that delta T intact. Otherwise, there could be a possibility that it acquires its equilibrium very fast. If its thermal conductivity is not poor. So you want a low thermal conductivity, high electrical conductivity, large S. So these are the criteria, typically criteria for this is, you call it the performance character. Then what are the problems with material side from physics point of view? And this is the crunch of the problem. So this is what I was telling you. Zero coefficient, large value to maximum output voltage. That means for this is delta V by delta T, unit temperature difference. So you need to have a large value. Then only you are going to get a very good result. Then electrical conductivity high. This is what I was telling you, to minimize Joule heating. Then thermal conductivity low to maintain temperature gradient. So this is as far as the performance characteristics. So where are the problems? There are some conflicting things. The conflicting things are, let me just tell you. Now, okay, before I go into the conflict, the built-in conflicts in the design of a material, as far as a good thermoelectric material is concerned, I need to tell you, because I have already told you about this, because in the first or second view graph I told you what are the materials, starting from why they are good, and which one of these materials we are going. Based on this particular definition, let me just tell you. For example, metals. You have electrical conductivity very high, it's okay. Seebeck coefficient is low, thermal conductivity high. So no, we are not going to choose that. Now you have insulators, extremely low electrical conductivity, but Seebeck coefficient is good. But then this also low is good, but electrical conductivity is a spoiler. So I am not going to concentrate on insulators. So my choice is semiconductor. Semiconductor is a compromise choice. So we have moderate electrical conductivity, but at the same time I can play with the electrical conductivity. There are different ways of playing with the electrical conductivity. Now, Seebeck coefficient high, that's okay as far as applications are concerned. Thermal conductivity. So now I say that I am just focusing, pinpoint out of insulators, metals and semiconductors. I now, from this particular definition of performance characteristics, I say that a semiconductor is good enough to start. So now people are concentrating on semiconductor to develop thermoelectric generator. Now, what are the problems? There are some conflicts. So this is the typical equation. So you have the S is Seebeck, this is the Peltier coefficient. So you have the E, you have the effective mass. So these things are in turn connected to sigma, because sigma is in turn NE mu. Mu is the mobility. So mobility also is connected to effective mass. Because the effective mass becomes larger, then the mobility also becomes low. That in turn affects sigma. So you just cannot actually manipulate one parameter, because that's going to affect another parameter. So if you wanted to increase S, so there is a problem with the Seebeck coefficient. So that also gets affected. So now this is a compromise, this is a trade-off, and that trade-off only I will tell you. Now there are also problems. Mu is equal to, so M star increases, mu decreases. So these are some of the conflicts. And the most troublesome part is the thermal conductivity. As far as thermal conductivity is concerned, you know that thermal conductivity has an electronic part and a lattice part, a phononic part, Ke and Kl. Now you take a semiconductor, you try to say, for example, with Dresselhaus's concept of nanostructuring or nano-engineering thermoelectric material. So essentially it is playing with grains and grain boundaries. Now if you think of modifying the grains and grain boundaries, now the problem is you can actually, take the case of thermal conductivity, you can actually increase the scattering of phonons. So increase the scattering of phonons, so that can in effect reduce thermal conductivity as far as the lattice part is concerned. At the same time, if you are trying that particular principle, you are also, because there is also electronic part. Okay, electrons also will get scattered. Then the question is, how are you going to tailor this? This tailoring can be done provided you can play with the mean free path of phonons and electrons. So that means you will have to only concentrate on the lattice part as far as thermal conductivity is concerned. And as far as electrical conductivity is concerned, you can play with grains, because one can also think of grain tunneling as far as the electrical conductivity process is concerned. So this is where they tried, this is where Russell succeeded in nanostructure or nano engineering thermoelectric materials. This is it. So this is what I have shown you. So now finding materials which minimizes the lattice contribution to ZT, and that is the real crux of solving this problem. So typical thermopower values required for good T performance is 150 to 250, just a numerical value. Now, so this is where. So now the question is, you remember I told you PGEC. Now people are looking for materials which will behave as far as the electrons are concerned a perfect lattice. Perfect lattice means you have no scattering points, you have no defects, and there is no scattering of electrons. So that means electrons can go from one place to another without finding any resistance. So at the same time, the same material should behave as an amorphous material, glass, where it takes care of the phonon part, the lattice part. So if you can design such a material, then that is ideal as far as my ZT is concerned. That means I can take care of the lattice thermal conductivity, I can also take care of the electrical conductivity. Because you saw the inherent defects involved in the design of a material. And this is where nanostructuring or nanoengineering came into being in the 2000, especially with the advent of nanotechnology. And this is what we are trying to do, and this is what we did. Nanostructuring one of our materials for improving. That's what I said. We actually started with the material right from the preparation, just like a factory. We made the material, we made the pellet, and we demonstrated the device, and that's what I tell you. So this is just the background as far as physics is concerned. Why nanostructuring, nanoengineering is important. So this is called PGEC crystal behavior. Now, in order to have this, you also have some, because now we are going into the crystal structures. So as far as the basic crystal structures are concerned, we need rattling structures. Rattling ions. You insert ions into the lattice where they will produce rattling structures. So that's another way of looking at it. So the best way is, this is to lower the lattice thermal conductivity, phonon loss, electron crystal behavior, and then you have the thermal conductivity reduced by introducing rattling structure, thereby satisfying the PGEC behavior. So electrical properties of a crystalline material and thermal properties of a glass. That's what I said. You have a material, as far as the electrons are concerned, electrical conductivity is concerned, it's a perfect lattice. And as far as the phonons are concerned, it's a perfect amorphous material, glassy material. So if you can have such a material, then you are done. You have a good thermoelectric. How to do that? That's a bit broader question. So if you look at Swapna, how many minutes? 5? I'm not started. Give me 10 minutes. So let us come to the conventional material, because those who are working in the thermoelectric materials or the applications which are now in the market are all based on lead telluride and bismuth telluride. Lead telluride problem is, it's a very good material, very good semiconductor, it's a good material. Now also, though we say that we need lead-free materials and all, most of the devices in the market are based on either bismuth telluride or lead telluride. Now these are some of the materials. Now what we did, so this is what I was telling you, nano route to enhance thermoelectric properties. So this is the concept which originated from Russell's lab, MIT. So creating a nano-engineered material efficient in thermal insulation while remaining a good electrical conductor. So there are some examples people have gone for making thin films of bismuth telluride and then silicon nano. A lot of work is being done. So now I was telling you about the operating temperature. So if you look at this this particular view graph, actually one knows which material to select if which is your operating temperature. Sorry. So you can see a whole lot of materials are there. It's a very recent graph. So you have the silicon germanium, you have the lead telluride, the conventional thermoelectric material, we have the bismuth telluride, all these things are there. Now let us move ahead. Now the question is, my title itself is a lead-free thermoelectric material based on manganese. Everybody knows about manganese because even I was telling see this manganese perovskite, because this particular manganese has a perovskite structure. Even I was telling a story because way back in the 80s I had the opportunity to meet the person who invented lithium-ion battery, J.P. Budina, since I was a research scholar. So that time itself he was telling I was working on perovskite. That is what led this. Even he started his work in the 60s and he received his Nobel Prize just 3 years after that. I was telling my students I had the opportunity to meet just like in IT Bombay. So that was it. He was telling I'm working on perovskite. So perovskite is such an old material. The 50s itself they were. Why? Because they were looking at perovskite for developing autocatalysts. It's a good catalyst. And now later when the superconductivity came, they were concentrating on perovskite. The 1, 2, 3 superconductors and things like that. So perovskite is a universal material. You can play with that, A and B cations, and alter its property. And plus, with the advent of nanotechnology, if you can nano-engineer that, nanostructure that, nothing like that. You can actually take care of the safety and things like that, even extend the... So, we did some work way back in 2004, I think Swapna knows, Sagar did some work on thermoelectric material. It's an accidental discovery. We were trying to work on multiferroids. So, I will just come to that. So, this is typically a perovskite. And you know about perovskite. This is it. So this is charge ordering is there. Some of the perovskites are ferromagnetic, some of the perovskites are antiferromagnetic, and there are also some of the perovskites are materials for colossal magnetoresistance, CMR. So the umpteen and some of the perovskite based materials can be used as your lithium-ion battery electrodes. Some of them can be used for such a lot of applications. So this is the structure. So there are different types of perovskites depending on the bond length between the MNO, means EG bond, and the free orbital of this. So you can classify them into large, intermediate bandwidth and lower width magnet, lower bandwidth manganese. So out of this, now this is what my student did way back in 2000. He did his work in 2007. Sagar did this work. So we were actually afraid to publish this work. So we waited. Then we gave the sample to Germany in order to confirm it. Even another sample to Ganesh in IUC Indore. So we made another set of samples. Because we got a colossal thermoelectric power for this particular material. This is also magnetic. This is GD1-X, SRX, MnO3. Just look at this value. The only problem is that the temperature at which this exhibited colossal thermoelectric was around, say, 40K or something. Which, as far as practical applications are concerned, it's not a good material. But it has other applications with respect to sensors and other things. But then we got the confirmation, we repeated this. Then we published this in EPA. And now, with this, people also started looking at this material after we published this paper. And then we slept for some time. We were keeping dormant and others picked up. Then we thought that afterwards another student came into my lab and I wanted to continue this, and that is Dr. Lija. Then we did some work on this. So we thought, because our problem was it, so for example, we have two coincidences. I'm not going to tell you the physics, I'll tell you the physics part later. Two coincidences. We got this colossal magnetoresistance at this around 40K. For all this combination, x is equal to 0.3, x is equal to 0.4 and x is equal to 0.5. And this is the enlarged version. And at the same time, we also did the FC studies, the magnetic, we wanted to see the order and disorder. So here also we saw some sort of transition exactly at the temperature at which it showed colossal thermal. So now we concluded that there is some connection between the phonons and the macnons. And what exactly is that? How is it contributing to the colossal thermoelectric power displayed by the manganese? And then again we wanted to take this particular transition temperature to its room temperature. Then only we are going to have benefit. So that's what we tried, especially with nanoengineering, adding substitution or dopants there. We did some more work. Then we focused on this particular lanthanum calcium manganate. Again, so this is again, now here also you can see, this is again in microvolts, 40,000 micro, that's a huge value actually. So then we concluded that our observation on the lanthanum strontium manganate was not a fluke, it was real. So we also got this. Again the problem was, only thing we could shift the temperature to its room temperature by a few Kelvin, 10 K. So we did that, and again there was also this magnetic ordering at that temperature of transition which showed colossal thermal. So this was a very good news for us. So we continued, we thought of nanospectring, then we tried to play with the size and things like that. So we succeeded in a lot of things, but still we were far away from making a device. We were far away because there was problem with the electrical conductivity of this particular material. That's a big problem, and we didn't bother to, we could not measure the thermal conductivity also. Then only we can actually design a device. So that was some of the bottlenecks. So this was again published. And now the possible reasons, this was sort of a theoretical or a hypothesis. These are all charge ordered magnets. So I showed you the lower bandwidth, higher bandwidth. So hence the possible reasons are spin fluctuations based on our studies with respect to measurement of colossal thermoelectric and the magnetic ordering, phonon scattering. This is what I saw, a relationship between the macron and the, I'll come to that. So diffusion, difference in charge carrier density, phonon drag, momentum transfer from phonons to electrons, and macron drag, momentum transfer. This is, and spin to, this is itself, we are just proposing, we are not sure, we are doing some work on this. We are not finally concluded that this is the reason for this. But our idea was to extend this study. We did that. Then what we did was, then Sriram joined under me. So I said, Sriram, your task is to make a material from synthesis to a device. You do whatever you want. I said our focus will be on manganese, a lead-free material. So Sriram, what he did was, he looked at the literature. So he said, though lead telluride is a conventional material, he found some literature, interesting literature, and that was called amphoteric substitution. So we took antimony. So we did it to demonstrate a device. Will it be possible to demonstrate a device? So we took this antimony. Antimony can be put in telluride's place or in the lead place, and we can make it a P and N. So P and N can be made. So he did that. It's a very simple procedure. Extensive studies he did. So he made a lot of combination for X, 0.1, 0.3 and 0.5. Yeah. This is nice way of using the students to tell your guru that your time is up. Your political, very non-controversial political statement, true bell. Okay. So this is it. So what we did was just, I'll take 3 minutes. So what we did was, so we made all this composition. Then I asked him to make a device. So what did we have a P, because we conveniently we could make this lead telluride using this amphoteric substitution with Sp antimony. We could make P, we could make N. So all these combinations we made. Then what Sriram did was, so he combined all this, 1P, 1N from one of this. He made umpteen combinations of this. Individually he measured all the characteristics, the voltage developed for all this. And then he also measured the thermal conductivity, he measured the Seebeck coefficient at different temperatures. He also measured the electrical conductivity, and he also measured the individual voltage generated for this. So he demonstrated a device. Then we thought, why not go for MNT? So this is the enhanced thermoelectric nanostructure. What we did was, let us nano-engineer it, nanostructure it, and see whether this can. But unfortunately, we didn't make any device out of it. We did a very good fundamental study. So this was another study. Then what we did was, we actually started where we left by my students Sagar and Lija. So we came back to that. So engineering calcium magnet by yttrium substitution, by nanostructure. So this work we have already filed a patent for the device as well as the material. So I am not going to tell you, it's always people say, if you don't want to come here, I have a patent. But I will give you some details. So this is it. So we did the transfer properties. So electrical conductivity we measured, thermal conductivity. Then ZT also we measured. Complete study. So then what we did was, so we made 3 combinations. YCMO3, YCMO5, YCMO7. So we found out which is P and we can actually the charge, which is the type of charge carriers. We measured that, and so we could. So we made combinations out of it. So we made a device fabrication. So what we did was this. This is the size. So this is the series modules connected together. So this is a real device which is made in lab. I think Shan and Navya knows about this device. We demonstrated. Unfortunately, I don't have a video of that. And for that, actually, Sriram used this particular Arduino. This is a hobby. It's available in hobby electronics. So he connected this and he demonstrated. This is the output. This is the voltage developed, and this is the current. So this is giving good current as well as good voltage output. So we thought that we have a very good fundamental study starting from material. So we saw how yttrium can be substituted to make a P, how yttrium can be substituted to make an N. So we made combinations of that. We demonstrated the device. So that's the device part, and this was again thermoelectric heater, and this is the thermoelectric cooler. Ice forming. Actually, unfortunately, I don't have the video. Otherwise, you could have seen this ice formation on this particular top. So this is what I call a material to device, because I was thinking about this way back in 2008, and it saw the light of the day only in 2020 or something. We could make a device, and fortunately we have filed an Indian patent, and I would not have been saying this small story before you without my student Sriram. Day and night he worked, because my first instruction was, if you are working on thermoelectric, you are demonstrating a device. So that's why I put this, means rather it should be a motivation story. From material to device, and if I can do it, you can do it. That's the message. So these are the people who helped me. Manfred is my close friend and collaborator. He is in University of Oxford. We have been collaborating right from 2006. This is Ganeshan. Ganeshan also is my collaborator. He is in UC, just retired as director by. These are the people, and I owe this entire story to my student Sriram, who is now a postdoc with Chandrasekhar Tiwari at IIT Kharagpur. Thank you for your patience and listen.
The session is now open for discussions.
As the session is running late, maybe we can restrict to 1 or 2 quick questions from the audience, and they can meet the speaker later in lunch at the break.
Only I have a request, because we are actually covered by IPR, so don't save it, because that's instruction from our department of IPR. So don't put it in public domain. Just delete it and don't record it and put it, because somebody says that it has already come into public domain and I've been in trouble. Because it's an Indian patent filed very recently. Yeah.
Yeah, so hoping that this won't be in public domain. How much voltage and current you obtained for that? Because the graph was, the labeling was too small to read. Yeah, the previous one. Yeah.
This is this we have demonstrated for 2-3 modules. This is quite good enough because I was telling you, for example, if from the ZT point of view, even 20 microvolt generation is good enough.
It's sufficient.
Another good thing is that so you have a PNN module, a typical one single unit, the base unit. You can cascade it, electrically connected as and you can decide.
Yeah.
The only problem is you have to take care of the back voltage, because you also have to drive devices. If you wanted to drive devices, you need to have a good current.
Yes.
So current as well as voltage. Just voltage is meaningless. Because you remember my first material which showed colossal thermoelectric power at 40K. That's useless. Because that's why we wanted to come to the room. This is near room temperature operations. That's what we said. We could actually engineer this manganese by putting yttrium and calcium to manipulate the electrical properties as well as good low thermal.
So the internal resistance is sufficiently low. You can ride a load.
Yeah, exactly. And you can actually even think of, for example, with the advent of smart cities and all, because you can even use an energy harvester. Small devices where installed, a lot of applications.
Thank you.
And this is attractive because this is lead free.
Yeah.
And the lead, I did work on lead telluride because that's the easiest material where I could see whether it works. But we could publish that in a very good way.
Now everybody is moving away from toxicity.
Pardon?
Everybody is moving away from toxicity.
Yeah, lead free. But still I say industry uses lead telluride in this material. Still now, because they are not arrived at a good substitute which is acceptable to everybody, just like the modern day fab. No? So we say with respect to what you call the submicron size, nobody is shifting the fab from the old concept because it involves billions of
Yes, it's also investment.
just like that. Swapna, shall I conclude? Yeah, once again, I thank Swapna and the students for the excellent hospitality. I was treated like a VIP. I don't deserve it. I just want to be an ordinary person like you and everybody else. Thank you very much. And wish you the very best for Swapna's group of students. You also make a device. Thank you very much.
I request Professor Reggie Philip to present a memento to Professor M.R. Anandaram. Next, we have an online session by Professor Sajid George, Associate Professor, McGill University, Canada, on nanotechnology-enabled antimicrobial combination therapy, resurrecting the glory of antibiotics through nanotechnology. I request Professor Rajendra Pilakata to chair the session.
Hello. Dr. Saji, can you hear? Hello.
Yes, excuse me.
Okay. So I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Dr. Saji George. In fact, we were studying together in Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, in early 1990s. And Dr. Saji received his PhD from National University of Singapore. He also completed postdoctoral training in nanotoxicology from University of California, Los Angeles, USA. Dr. George joined Nanyang Polytechnic, Singapore as a senior lecturer, where he was spearheading research activities at the Center for Sustainable Nanotechnology. Dr. George addresses research questions related to the implications and application of nanotechnology with the ultimate goal of developing sustainable nanotechnology applications for food safety and security. Dr. George has authored and co-authored 47 journal articles, 6 patents, and 2 book chapters, and 15 invited talks. He has been serving as a reviewer and editorial board member for many leading journals in the field of nanotechnology and nanobio interactions. And I welcome Dr. Saji George for the session. I know that it's very late there, around nearing 12 o'clock. He is from McGill University, Canada. So welcome, Dr. Saji George. Please.
Excellent. Is it still morning there or afternoon?
It's morning. For us, it's fine.
Can you all hear me? It's morning, okay. Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, very good morning, Rajan, for giving me that kind of introduction. And of course, I remember all the good days when we went for the university. So, thank you for inviting me and honor this conference. Unfortunately, I should also supposed to be there in person, but my flight got cancelled the day, and then they couldn't reschedule the flight where I would be able to attend these meetings. So I thought I would take a break and stay at home. As you may know, Montreal is a cold place. I was listening to Professor Anandaram's talk. I was wondering if he can make something, make electricity from cold, and this is the place he should be doing research, because a lot of now we are -3 or -6. And so, with that kind of, let me start my presentation. I'll be happy to share my research here. The title that I put is the application of nanotechnology, different sector from the electrical application. We are in the life science now. So I thought that we is with nano for enhancing the mobile properties of nanotechnology. So I will be. Before that, I would like to introduce my group at McGill University. The name is safe now. If anyone has a problem in hearing, let me know. I can only see my screen here. I can see you. So I'm assuming that you can hear me. So I'm presenting. If there is any issue. In any case. So the SAFE stands for Sustainable Agriculture. And where we do activities or research just mainly in two categories. The first part is understanding the toxicity of nanotechnology. As again, Professor was telling about the lead-based sky material being toxic. So we do that kind of studies, understanding how nanomaterials become toxic, as well as we have now we ranges of materials with composition, concentration in different organisms, and vitro cells to evolve small organisms like zebrafish or C. elegans, as I will show you later on. Another part of the research is into developing sustainable nanotechnology solutions, and that's where this comes from, as is where we develop antibacterial solutions or different vaccines for agriculture, animal agriculture, so these plants patients. That's another part of the book that I do. collaboration with the domain expert. And of course, we also work with industry to develop some of those applications in food encapsulations of materials, replacement of plating labs, and for example, etc. So these are main activities that we do in so in that kind of introduction that we proceed to what I'm going to talk today. So today I will be talking about the global challenges associated with the rise of antimicrobial resistance. I know some of you may not be actually familiar with the microbiology or something. Try to give some background about what is happening. And there is a solution to giving 3 examples from my research. So, first of all, start with this is a sobering thought to me, but unfortunately that I have to start that topic, share that session with you. But this is the reality. What's happening now is microorganisms, especially the pathogenic ones, are increasingly resistant to antibiotics. Started even right from the discovery of penicillin or other antibiotics that came to we later on discovered that from the range of 1 to 16 years, it was discovered that there is resistance drawn by microorganisms against those antibiotics. So while the graph of antibiotic resistance continues to climb, what's happening? So recently, early this year, Lancet published this paper. Talks about from a survey that was conducted. It's estimated that 1.95 million deaths were encountered for resistance. What are the main type of bacteria that are in the forefront of antibiotic resistance? The Klebsiella, etc. These are some of those usual suspects that we encounter in our body as well as in the environmental system and in the animal. So this is something very concerning. It's not just from the health perspective, some spread of diseases which cannot be treated, but also from the economy. But what's happening on the other spectrum is there is less and less number of antibiotics that are coming to the market. As you can see in this first graph, the number of FDA approved antibiotics over the last 2 years is declining. It is declining. But this is actually a trend that can be shown from the FDA approved or from the number of research and development from the private sector involving antibiotic development. That 1.5% of antibiotics that are pre-clinical development stage reach the market. So it's a huge investment done, but there is a very less likelihood that you will get a reward from it. So as a result, companies are actually investing their resources into developing antibiotics. So these are aligned the trend that you see. On one end, the bacteria, the pathogenic ones, are gaining resistance against the drugs that we use in our clinics. On the other end, there is less and less number of new antibiotic drugs that are coming. Now, problem is, and like I mentioned, there is more death, more public health issues associated with that, but also in terms of the world economics, it is a huge problem. As you can see, according to the same paper, there is, according to the World Bank, there is an estimated amount of GDP. I mean, our GDP will be almost 5% more, will be committed towards fighting or to circumvent issues related to antibiotic resistance. And especially in the agricultural production scenario, so there could be a reduction in productivity as a result of antimicrobial resistance. So it's a huge problem, not just for public health, but also for economic aspect, financial aspect, but also for food security. Now, what is this real mechanism? If you take into a bacteria, process bacteria, they actually resist these antibiotics or the molecules that are used to treat them. There are several methods that this bacteria, smart bacteria, you employ in order to evade the antibacterial effect of the antibiotics. One is they can actually pump out the antibiotics that are getting into the body. The bacterial cell have a mechanism to take out the antibiotic from forming a critical level inside the cells by pumping it out using an active pump, which actually makes use of energy to pump out the specific molecules that may come there. Then there is another mechanism. There are enzymes produced by this bacteria that can neutralize these antibiotics. There are permeability of the cell permeability can be improved as or prevented, or as a result of the antibiotics will not get into the bacterial cell. And there are other target modification. All these are related to how much these antibiotics are present in the cells. Now, that is not the entire scenario. In a typical infection, you may not see bacteria swimming around like this. Bacteria may be either hiding inside the cell. For example, if a human is infected, the case is in this particular case, if we are talking about salmonella, for example, if it is infecting, for example, pigs or human, they can hide inside the cells of humans, so host cells. So what is the advantage? Now they are being protected from the external antibiotics or antimicrobial mechanisms this host body has. So it may have some cells to clear the bacterial cell, it may have antibiotics or any other antimicrobial agents. They are protected when they hide inside the cell. Yet another mechanism is these bacteria, they form something called as a biofilms. What is biofilm? There is actually a community of microorganisms. See, often these bacteria are not like free swimmers like this. They actually are attached first, and when they are well protected by an generally extra polymer substance or polysaccharide substances, etc. So they make a fortified, sometimes even fortified literally, and so it's like a fortress, so they cannot be breached by the antimicrobial agents. They may be in a very dormant condition, dormant state, this bacteria can stay inside. So, apart from these antibiotic resistant mechanisms that we discussed, they can, on top of that, they can also be hiding inside the cell, or they may form biofilms that may also protect them. So, we do have multiple tasks in circumventing the diseases caused by bacteria which are hiding inside, which are forming biofilm, which have the multiple drug resistant characteristics. The question is, how do we address them? Now, we are not going in detail about what is nanotechnology. I believe you may have some background of materials and nanotechnology. But one of those solutions towards these kind of global challenges is nanotechnology. Then you are going to hear often from the medical point of view, from the electronic sector, or as well as so many other segments. Now, in medical or in microbial, there are a lot of applications because of the unique property of nanotechnology. What are the unique properties? First of all, they are nanoscience, which means they can actually get through these kind of biological barriers. What I told you, some of the problem with these antibiotics when it comes to the multiple drug resistant bacteria, they cannot get into the cell of the bacteria. Now, nanosize is even 1,000 times less than a micron, which means they do have some chances of getting through that system. Or when the bacteria is hiding inside the cell, a human cell or a swine or pigs or poultry, birds, they can also get into those kind of cells because of their size, because of their shape sometimes. So there are transport fluids, transport across biological. That is different from molecules. If it is just an antibiotic, there is a transporter mechanism that is modified. By modifying that transporter mechanism, bacteria can escape. Now, it's a nanomaterial, so the mechanism of transport is different. Then there is a lot to do with the surface chemistry. We can play the surface of nanomaterial, depending on the composition, we can play to make it more targeted. We can achieve passive or active targeting by modifying the surfaces. The core chemistry, we can incorporate things that can be antimicrobial in nature, and they can respond to immune factors that are very specific for an infected tissue or infected region, for example. So we can actually achieve a targeting and more effective kind of application. And more importantly, when it comes to microbial, I think it is the multifunctionality. There is a possibility of combining more than one drugs or diagnostic agent together in order to achieve greater bacterial elimination. So with that background, let me get into one of the examples. The first example that I gave you is the premise where I started. We were actually working with bacteria, like we took these two forms of Staphylococcus aureus, which is actually a common solution. This bacteria can be found on your skin, on your nose, etc. These are these violet-colored, spherical shaped bacteria. They are normally not very harmful, but they can tend to harmful, depending on the situations. Now, there are two forms of this bacteria. One is obviously the susceptible form, which is susceptible to antibiotics. Another one is the MRSA, in short, this is penicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. So these are two representative of a bacteria that can be easily eradicated using antibiotic, and a bacteria that will be eliminated that cannot be eliminated using antibiotic. Now, you know that before the antibiotic before the penicillin started, it was the silver that was used for treating infections caused by bacteria. And so we started there. We put these bacteria against the silver. So you can see this MSSA, which is a susceptible form of bacteria. They do have, these silver have an action against this MSSA. See here, what you see is a clear zone, a cloudy kind of a surface is because that is where the bacterial cells are growing. As a result, you see the cloudiness. When there is a clearing of that cloudiness, that shows that there is something antibacterial, the substance that kills the bacteria. So you can see silver, when it is put against this MSSA, there is a clearing. So it is working against that bacteria. But these antibiotic resistant bacteria, they also resist silver. These are, like these two are two entities. Silver is a metal. Antibiotic penicillin resistant is a organic molecule. So this guy is also resisting silver. That was interesting. So we thought, okay, what is the mechanism? So what we find is these MRSA will resist until a certain level, and then it will become. So there is a threshold by MSSA as a functional concentration, it will kill the bacteria. And more importantly, if you expose these MRSA to silver, that means if you actually expose it to a sublethal concentration, the bacteria will become even more resistant, which means there is some inducible character, there is some responding, genes are responding to make this bacteria even more incapable against this silver. Now we studied the mechanism. For that we had to actually use those kind of molecules which will prevent, for example, certain kind of resistant mechanisms. So there are classes of these kind of molecules already identified. So we started with the different kind of established molecules, and we find that among those tested, one which stood out, chlorpromazine, which is a efflux pump inhibitor, actually showed that will make the bacteria, the resistant forms, more susceptible to silver as well as to gentamicin, that is an antibiotic. So it is actually working against this bacteria. Now with that knowledge, we also went into the genetics of it, and we found that among the suspected gene, there is a particular gene that is involved with heavy metal resistance, and then we can see that MRSA by itself, it has it. But once you actually prick the bacteria with a small concentration of the silver, it becomes more highly expressed. As a result, you can see there is a heavy expression of that gene. So it means it's an inducible kind of a gene. Now we ask this question. With this knowledge, there is a mechanism, it's an efflux pump. There is a pumping out of this silver out of the cells. That is how these bacteria is resisting. Can be designed nanoparticles. We started with the silver nanoparticle itself. We created two forms of silver nanoparticle. Here, one is silver PVP, that is silver that is nanoparticle, which is decorated with a polymer, a negatively charged polymer. While the other one, silver PEI, is a positively charged polymer. PEI is polyethylene. And now we characterize it, as you can see, this PVP is negatively charged and PEI is positively charged when it is in water. And then when we expose it to the bacteria, we can see that the negatively charged silver is not doing anything. It is not actually decreasing any bacteria cell, while the positively charged actually kills the bacteria. And it is better than gentamicin at certain level. And that is true with both MRSA and MSSA. There is no differentiation between the antibiotic resistance. Now we also look into the mechanism. We can image it using a microscope. Here you see a nice round shape, this kind of Staphylococcus aureus, which is the negative control, not exposed to anything. And when it is exposed to negatively charged particles, silver particle, more or less, they are also similar to the unexposed ones. But when it is exposed to those positively charged, you can clearly see these particles decorating the surface of the bacteria, and the bacteria surface is totally distorted. There are pores, and as a result, you can see there is an increase in silver content when it is a PEI but not in PEP, and there is a marker for bacterial cell damage, which is about measuring an enzyme that is intracellular enzyme. You can actually measure it. As a result, you can see there is a force that are formed. So basically, what it shows is when it is positively charged, get attached to the bacteria. There is a reason for that. It's a simple thermodynamics. Here, the bacterial surface is negatively charged. The positively charged silver will get attached because of the electrostatic interaction. As a result, there is a higher amount of silver that is available to the bacterial cells. It creates the bacteria, make a dent on the bacterial cell wall, so it needs more silver available. As the result, all those mechanisms that are conferring the resistance is saturated, bacteria dies. Now the problem is, this may not be applicable if you want to really treat, because these are something good for a topical application. We cannot actually put this positively charged silver into a body, for example. So we thought, why not actually make use of that knowledge where there are some chemicals or compounds that can actually hit the flux pump. So we made a combination of that kind of drug. We actually make use of wormhole silica nanoparticle, which contain the silver and the chlorpromazine. We characterize them, we put them together. We found it is working, not just about the free-forming bacteria, but also in the biofilms. So as a mechanism, what happened is here there is when the bacteria is in its native form, it has a reflex pump. It won't work if it is silver alone, not negatively charged silver particle, but it can be eliminated with the positively charged silver, or if we supply with a combination drug. Now that's where we got the idea of combination drug. Combinations of drug molecules will work together. So here is another example where we actually tested the bacteria that comes from the clinics treating the swine. Here is Staphylococcus aureus and salmon isolated from piglets. And then we characterize this bacteria for their resistant mechanism. First of all, to see the antibiotic. As you can see among these 20 antibiotic, most of these bacteria are resistant, especially look at this Staphylococcus. So the salmonella typhimurium, most of the drugs it is resistant. In fact, it grows well in the presence of ampicillin, that is bizarre. But then the mechanism, again similar to what we found earlier, there is a flex pump activity, and also there is enzymes that inactivate the bacteria that are functionally these enzymes that are inactivating the antibiotics are functional in this bacteria. Then we treated, when we screen different compounds, we want to identify which compound, which combination will work. And there is a beautiful assay for that called checkerboard assay, where we can actually increase the concentration of a compound A and compound B along the row and column wise, respectively, which combination and which concentration they will have an effect. If there is an effect, is going to be additive or synergistic, which means it might be even higher than the additive effect, or indifferent. It's not doing anything. So we found some of those kind of combinations are synergistic, that is interesting, and some are additive, and so some are indifferent. So we chose this tetracycline and chlorpromazine, for example, to show that how it will behave if you are actually using nano. So here we call the term nano-enabled antimicrobial combination therapy. And what we meant by is harnessing the power of nano-delivery platform to deliver more than one drug molecules with complementary functions to enhance antibacterial function. So here is actually a chimera where we actually created a hydrogen encapsulating tetracycline and silicon nanoparticle encapsulating chlorpromazine, and then we put them together. Since they are opposite charges, we will get something like a dumbbell-shaped structure. Then we characterize them for their properties, and more importantly, we test them against the bacteria. And you can see when it is in combination, that is in CMP, what you see is a drastic reduction in the minimum unitary concentration. And we saw that with the bacteria, all the bacteria that we tested. And we see that it is actually inhibiting or perturbing all the antimicrobial resistant characteristics, whether it is the enzyme, the lactamase enzyme activity, when it is this is like this, you can see that CFT is actually doing much better in comparison to ampicillin alone, and also the general mechanisms of resistance like sulfide production or flex activity, etc. are obtained. And as a result, you get a better antimicrobial activity. This was one example that we published. And another one was, we also showed that this can actually work against the bacteria that is hiding inside the cell. So the extent of reduction into the bacteria, the CMT is actually causing a much higher reduction than those drugs in combination. If you just provide the drugs by itself, it will not work. You can actually combine these, just put these two molecules together, but it may not work. You have to have it in nanomaterial. The reason why it works is when it is nanomaterial, then it can actually penetrate to the host cell and also penetrate to the bacteria, in order and much more effective concentration of these drugs can be achieved at the site of action. That's what we think is the reason. There is another interesting study that we did was with this material. Here it is a combination of albicide clay particle, which we were successful in developing this silver nanoparticle form. And then the lumen is a tubular-shaped particle, so we can load it with tannic acid. So here what you're looking at is a composite material where there is a clay particle as the main structure on which the silver nanoparticles are embedded. It is in situ formation to the patent technique, and then we encapsulate tannic acid. And then we characterize this material again similar to that. What we find is this material also has an excellent antibacterial property when it is tested against these drug-resistant form, especially the bacteria that show multiple drug resistance. The sample, you can see it is reducing the MIC of these drugs to a greater level. We tested it against in a small audience model, like where it is actually going and infecting this worm, which is C. elegans, and the bacteria is hiding inside the cells, inside the intestine, the cells of this worm. It's a small organism, so you can make use of that model. And again, it shows that by using this nanotechnology, a combination can actually reduce the antibacterial number of bacteria and also improve the lifespan, which otherwise will be killing the C. elegans. So it's showing that this is effective, a combination of the silver and tannic acid by using the silver clay nanoparticles working. And that now is moving towards a clinical trial in bigger animal models. Another example is a material that we created for treating mastitis, which is a major issue, especially in dairy industry. You should know that more than 70% of the drugs, antibiotic that you see in dairy is actually towards this mastitis. And it's a very economically burdensome, naturally burdened disease because of this loss of productivity, loss of animal, and also increase cost because of antibiotics. Similar to the previous work, we did the antimicrobial resistance. In 3 minutes I will be done. And we found there are several mechanisms putting the biofilm formation, that is for this bacteria. Again, we created a combination of drugs. And here I'm not revealing the name of the drug or the things that we are using here, but it's an encapsulation of the 3 drugs, and then we profiled it for its properties, and we saw there is a major reduction in the bacteria, especially the drug-resistant forms of bacteria. And again, that's because of the combination. It will not happen just by putting this drug alone, but it will happen even if they are in encapsulation. And more importantly, the more exciting work is when we do the in vivo work, where we can actually show that it is working inside the mammary glands in animals, where you can see this combination work. The combination actually, few animals where there is a zero count of bacteria, that is something like a major step towards creating a status infection. With that, I will conclude my presentation. Basically, I want to say that combinations with effector molecules improves the activity of antibiotics, and where we can actually make use of that unique property of nanomaterials, especially in terms of bypassing the biological barriers and providing multiple drugs at the site of action at an effective concentration to curtail the bacterial infections. With that, I would like to thank all my collaborators, my students and collaborators, and the research fund. Thank you all for listening to me, and sorry about going over a little bit more of the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadi. It was a wonderful presentation with a lot of information and the application of nanomaterial for improving the antibiotic applications and also to overcome the antibiotic resistance. So I have a lot of questions, but due to shortage of time, we can take a few questions from the audience.
I have a silly question.
Sir, please.
Yeah, my question is, for example, you have. Hello, my question is, you are mentioning about tagging nanomaterials. So, what are the type of nanomaterials which you are trying with this? Because biocompatibility is an important factor. No?
Yep. You're asking about the biocompatibility. So yeah, that is true. We do look for safety aspect. So for those drugs that we develop, especially for the one that you showed the last slide about mastitis treatment, we do have another panel of assays that we do to make sure that they are not really harmful for the mammalian cells. So we actually make sure that the therapeutic index is higher. And that's why we start with those kind of materials that are benign. First of all, they are benign. The chemistry itself is benign. For example, clay or vitrocyan or silica-based particles. And then when they are combined together, also we want to make sure they are not toxic. So with that, effort, it's actually a designing that goes into, or the parameter of the toxicity goes into the design of the material. Yeah. I hope I answered. I'm not sure whether I heard your question correct.
No, same. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saji. Yeah, it was very clear. And I have one quick question. Whether when we apply silver nanoparticle, the COP A and COP C, whether it is responding in the bacteria? COP A, copper transfer.
It was. Yeah, so how it works is actually, we can see the flex activity is curtailed. You can clearly see when you have a combination of this silver with the copramazine, that is the drug that actually prevents the flex pump from hanging.
Okay.
So we can see that activity of flex is reduced. Not reduced, it comes to the basal level.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay.
The gene function, gene expression may not be affected, but the phenotypic or the expression of that gene,
Okay.
or the activity is
Okay.
reduced.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saji. Clear. I think that we can wind up. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. I think it is very late over there. Maybe I can tell good night to you. So let us hope we can meet in the campus very soon during your
Right, thank you. I hope we can have more discussions.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Dr. Saji. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. to deliver the plenary lecture on application of magnetic nanoparticles in medicine, therapeutics, diagnostics and engineering, I invite Dr. C.N. Ramchan Sakshan from Malgenome, USA. I request Professor Rajendra Bilangata to introduce the speaker.
Dr. Ramchan, sir, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Sorry for the delay, Okay. So,
No problem.
okay. So, I'd like to introduce next plenary speaker, Dr. C.N. Ramchan. Is basically a British citizen. Is currently the co-founder, CEO, and CSO of Maggenome Labs Private Limited, India and USA. He has over 25 years of rich experience in the areas of teaching, basic research, drug discovery program and disease mechanisms, guiding MSc, PhD students and setting up a research facility. He is also an adjunct faculty and PhD guide at the MS University, Baroda. He also has a very close research association with the State University of New York, Buffalo, USA, Florida International University. Dr. Ramchan has published over 70 peer-reviewed papers in international journals, edited 5 books, has around 15 patented products currently in the market, and holds close to 60 granted patents. He has done over 100 research presentations at international conferences worldwide, and was also a senior visiting fellow at University of Sheffield and University of Newcastle, UK, and at Slovakian Academy of Science, Slovak Republic. Dr. Ramchan was the special invitee at the Vibrant Gujarat organized by Chief Minister Narendra Modi to give a special lecture on nanobiotechnology to over 2,000 select CEOs and business leaders in 2006, and later on in 2008 on role of nutrition in disease prevention. And actually, I had a great opportunity to work
mainly magnetic nanoparticle based RNA extraction. So we have developed viral transfer medium, molecular transfer medium, RNA extraction, viral RNA extraction.
Excuse me, sir. The slides are not moving. Actually, is the first.
No, I have not yet moved.
Okay.
I have not yet moved. Yeah. I'm just giving an introduction. So, yeah. So, this is a product what we developed, and probably one of the reasons the cost has came down in the last 1 year of the COVID time is because of the product what we developed was the RNA extraction using a new technology, so very easy, and luckily we got the approval too. Just I wanted to tell one more thing. This is a typical example of a university work, how we have translated and commercialized. Startup as a startup company, and finally commercialized. The entire work what I am going to show is all done in university through my PhD students. Of course, now we have started developing various products in-house. We also have a PhD program in which we are taking students, and in our own place in Cochin as well as in Chennai, and somebody is interested, welcome to do that. So this is an interesting product. What you are seeing is that magnetic nanoparticle, triferric tetroxide, Fe3O4. There are various other particles are there, like silver nanoparticle, that also we are making, gold nanoparticle, that also we are making. But majorly we have done extensive research on this magnetic nanoparticle, which is Fe3O4, which is particle in nature, and you can make it liquid by binding to various surfactants or fatty acids, etc. You can see this. Now what we have done and what are the unique features of this? Now this can be manipulated by an external magnetic field. So triferric tetroxide is paramagnetic in nature. That means a lone pair of electrons is there and it is paramagnetic. The other thing is that whichever size you can make, whether it is colloidal particle, 1 nanometer, 1000 nanometers, whatever is the size. So that is what we have initially standardized, making the particle. And which is the most commonly used particle is magnetic nanoparticle. It is not only for biology, life sciences, medical, diagnostics. The particle has got a high surface area. Now what we have done uniquely is something very interesting. If you see world over, various separation process, people are using nanoparticles, magnetic nanoparticles, but these are all coated particles. Coated with protein or coated with other surfactants, other carbohydrates, other ligands, etc. So we are the only one using naked particle, and entire patent of ours is based on this naked particle. There are significant advantages of naked particle. First of all, because it is patented, no other people are able to use it, and apart from that one, magnetically it is highly susceptible because there is no coating in there. So these are some of the advantages of this magnetic nanoparticle. Now, majorly currently we are only develop products that is for business purpose. Now, anything which is related to therapeutic application, drug delivery, which is very complex. And let me also tell you, last 20 years people have been working, I don't think any product has come out. We have been also doing certain things, but I will say probably past time I will mention. But right now, mainly for research application, mainly biotechnological and related. For example, DNA extraction, total protein extraction, RNA extraction, then immobilized affinity ligands. This affinity ligands can be protein A, protein G, Cap2L, or other ligands. Then immobilized antibodies. If you want to remove antigen or other cells, antibody bound nanoparticles are there, and immobilized enzyme, various applications including commercial applications. Then what are the biomedical and therapeutic applications? Therapeutic protein purification, this is some work which is going on. Drug delivery, which we have already done, but we are not focusing at this point because, as I mentioned, it takes years and years and very complex. Then magnetic hyperthermia, again, this is an opportunity for treating, because using a process called hysteresis, the temperature of nanoparticle can be increased about 10-15 degrees. So many people are trying to work on that one. We also had some work on this one. And nanoparticle adjuvants for vaccine. This is an important work which we have already initiated. There are various reasons why we are using as an adjuvant for vaccines, because apart from that improving the efficacy, the other reasons are cold chain, managing the cold chain. So these are the things we already initiated. Probably a few years from now, this might be, and antisense RNA. Next generation sequencing, cloning, organs diagnostics and applications. You might be knowing that most of the diagnostics now is totally focusing on DNA kits or RNA kits. Sometimes, of course, mostly it is protein based. But the major thing is that everyone is buying the DNA extraction, the purpose of next generation sequencing. The total protein extraction. Very interestingly, we have developed a method in which that protein can be extracted 99.9% absolutely pure. One of my students, but everyone using RNA extraction is a totally different technology, and we are using our own technology where we are separating RNA alone from protein, from DNA and other molecules. Immobilize affinity ligands for purification of antibodies, fats and fusion protein. Now this is going to be a very complex project, especially therapeutic protein purification when it comes. It takes years. There are reasons. But we have already done that initial work, and probably in a few years that we will be introducing that in the market. Immobilized antibody, mainly cell separation, because if you have a surface antigen antibody is there, you can do that. We are already selling this to few people, and there are some people come to us selectively, they wanted to immobilize in nanoparticle, which we are doing, and we have our own method for immobilizing the protein into nanoparticle using a novel technology which I will be mentioning, and immobilization design. So we have also developed a method in which the immobilization can be done of the enzyme without losing not even 1% active. So that was the most important thing. The Express DNA technology, that is our the brand name is Express DNA for all the DNA extraction, and using magnetic nanoparticle. So if you see here, these are the products what we have developed. DNA extraction using magnetic nanoparticle from blood we can use. We are selling that one. Animal tissues, bacteria, fecal matter. The collection kit which you can see over there. We have recently got about 10,000 kits ordered from Singapore. So fecal matter, saliva collection, these are some of the products what we are doing. And our own kit is used for the extraction of microbial DNA or RNA or from the saliva, etc. And plant. Even what I understand is that coagens is not working well. And if you want to extract the DNA or even from agaroses, you will be able to do. Size exclusion is another thing what we are doing from the soil. DNA extraction, RNA extraction, then the cell lines and FFP. You really see all these are we have patented worldwide. because normally we patent in India as well as in the US and few other countries, 8 to 10 countries where we have the opportunity, we normally patent. And we have several publications. Till date, we have got 40 different publications, highly cited journals. Now, currently, one of the technology which is developed by Quadrant and many other people is the column technology. The column technology has got inherent problems. For example, in column technology, the recovery is low, a lot of centrifugation steps are there, and the shearing of the DNA will be there. So these are all we have sorted out, the new technology what we have developed. And the most important thing is the quality of DNA, which you can see if you really have used ours, there is no shearing. And the quantity of DNA, and very quick, because there is no centrifugation involved. And let me also tell you, we have also developed a high throughput DNA extraction, where using 9612, in quickly within minutes you will give the large number of samples, whether it is blood or tissues, or the equipment is developed by us over here. Now, this is the column extraction principle you will be able to see. When you in the presence of a caloritropic agent, what will happen is that the DNA binds to the column, which is which has got a dielectric constant. So on the other hand, what we are doing is slightly different. As I mentioned, the nanoparticle is uncoated. Uncoated nanoparticle has a chemical hydroxyl group because of the charge separation. And depending on the pH, it will be either positively charged or negatively charged. So that is one problem. So that is electrostatic interaction, charge based. The other thing is that nanoparticle surface is hydrophobic in nature. So hydrophobic, hydrophilic, as well as it contains charge. So that is the basis of the separation. Many people ask us how you are able to separate DNA from RNA from protein. Basically, that is what our patent, that is what our publications are also, you can see. But it is a precipitation technique. The first thing is that, because of the variations in the dielectric constants, charge, molecular weight, molecular size, etc., whether it is DNA, we can precipitate specifically. Of course, along with that, other molecules also will come. Then there is a cleaning procedure. So this is the procedure what we have used. Now, these are some of the publications, and there is some publication we have got an extremely high, what 600, 700 citations are there. And as I mentioned, this technique is very simple technique. There is not great science is there, but applications are tremendous. That's why we are getting a lot of citations, and publication also has become very easy. And all the products what we are introducing, we will file a patent, and claims are unique. Luckily, nobody in the world has come up with our technology because they know that they can't express RNA extraction using magnetic nanoparticles. So actually, there are already existing techniques in which you are using the histidine pack method, and similar methods are there, RNA extraction. But that is very complex. But we have developed a very simple, very easy method for RNA extraction using naked magnetic nanoparticle, and mainly from blood, saliva, etc. And one of the methods that we have our RNA extraction from saliva, which Dr. Kualgata has also used, that is already in the market. Now we are also going to use for various other diagnostic detection. If it is for diagnostic purpose, it will be different from research product, because we need to go through DCGA, CEDASCO, then we have to get ISO certification and CGMP. There are 4 or 5 different certifications there, which we are currently doing, but the product is there. Express protein, total protein extraction using magnetic nanoparticles. This is yet to commercialize properly. We can extract the complete protein in one stretch with 99.9% chance. So again, you might have a question how this is possible. That is the technique. especially none of the other things will bind. And when you are separating the protein, whether it is from whichever source, whether you want to separate the enzyme, but no specific enzyme. For example, if it is blood, the entire protein will come. Now, instead of that, the classical way of extraction of protein simplification, this method can be used, because none of the other things will be there, and your activity is intact. That's the most important thing. Express affinity technology of immobilization of proteins on magnetic nanoparticles. Protein, you all know what is protein A used, protein G used, capital L used. All these are commercial applications apart from laboratory. Mainly commercial applications, because in our own fab purification we are using capital, but then we can't use ours because it is a therapeutic. But research applications is there and many people are buying this products. Now what is the technology what we have used? See, classically magnetic nanoparticle, how people have immobilized this protein is that take the nanoparticle, coat with other carbohydrate, then with carbodiamide. This is a different method what we have used. Naked nanoparticle, and we have used epichlorohydrin. Now, what is happening? Because of the charge separation, the protein binds to nanoparticle. After that, we cross-link the protein. This is what we have done. This is the technology of we have done, and this is also patented, and we have published. You can see TEM images. One is free protein, the other right-hand side is that, which is coated, protein-coated part. Now, advantages of this strategy is that user-friendly, reusability. Several times you can use, because there is no leaching of the protein. Very high efficiency and stability. Process can be applied to large sample volumes. High binding capacity and no column source simplification. Several people are buying this for research application of us. Now, how separation works? This is the principle. For example, protein A is bound, and if you want to, let's say that a cell has to be separated. Let's say a cancer cell has to be separated. You have got protein A and protein G. Now, an antibody is required, where the target cell surface antigens antibody, which is available or you like it, and that is bound to protein A. For example, in the constant region it binds, and the variable region goes and binds to cells. So that is the technology what we have used. Enzyme immobilization. This is yet to commercialize, and the most interesting thing is that our basic technology using epichlorohydrin we have cross-linked with nanoparticle and without losing the activity. How without losing the activity? Because you have to use very controlled way epichlorohydrin cross-linking, then you will not lose the activity. Yeah. Probably I got a maybe another 5 or 7 minutes, whatever is possible, I will complete. Then any questions are there, we can ask. So there is a lot of significance is there, enzyme immobilization. Mainly we think that this has a lot of opportunity for large scale protein purification. And immobilized enzymes has got many other, like the classical way. The advantages of the current method is that it's quicker, easier, cheap. So another thing what we have found is that once we have immobilized, this has been seen for a very long time. The activity is not lost, and even at normal temperature, 37 degrees, the activity remains. On the other hand, without, for example, horseradish peroxidase, you can see both the cases. The right hand side, the activity is lost within few days. On the other hand, in this case, it remains. So this is something, a great opportunity for that those who are commercializing enzymes, and immobilized enzyme without losing the activity. So some of the instruments for therapeutic protein purification are developing protein A GL resin for purification of therapeutic antibodies. So we are in the process of developing an equipment for using this method, and mainly therapeutic protein, but it might take few years to introduce in the market. Drug delivery is another thing what we have used. I've already, when I was in Sun Pharma, has developed similar product, which is one of the Doxil, one of the great products of Sun Pharma, worldwide introduced. where, doxorubicin is immobilized or inside the liposome. So what we have done is a one step ahead. We have used nanoparticle and we have found that this is got tremendous advantages. For example, this is one of my PhD students' work. We have seen that, what we have done is that we have introduced a magnet near the cancer tissue and doxorubicin, and then, and the right hand side is that it is this carcinoma treatment and it worked well. But then of course, commercialization is not an easy thing. Theoretically it is good, but it might take probably years to do this type of work, because the complexity associated with the developing a drug, even in delivery system, is not that simple. Now, significance of magnetic nanoparticles in drug delivery system, because problems of conventional drug usage, you can't focus or you can target a specific place. On the other hand, in this case, we can do that. So, magnetic hyperthermia, this is a typical example in which a tumor can be reduced by giving the nanoparticle and giving electromagnetic field. What will happen is that the temperature will go, but we have not done. I am just telling as a, this is one thing we are not doing and not planning to do, because last 20-25 years people have been trying world over. It has not come to the market at all. That's why we are not doing. Antisense, another complex thing is the delivery of antisense. Antisense, that means stopping the translation process, the RNA to protein, transcription and translation. So the protein synthesis can be inhibited by using antisense. So for this, nanoparticles are excellent product, and what we are planning is that one of the PhD product we want to do is how antisense can be introduced, for example, cancer or specific therapeutic applications. This is another thing what we are doing as an adjuvant. Main thing is that the cold chain management and problems associated with the sustained release and immunogenicity. All these can be sorted out, and the vaccine, the antigen bound nanoparticle. Currently the test is going on. What we are told, initially we will introduce in animal vaccines. Then we think about human, but then again, very long time, very long process. The proof of concept is going on and it works well, but then which is translated probably another 10-15 years. So what are the advantages of nanoparticles as adjuvants for vaccine? It is cold chain management, problems associated with sustained release, because an antigen has to be released very slow and steady to make the maximum efficacy of the antigen to produce antibody. So this is quite good. And immunogenicity. Probably the immunogenicity can be increased by this method. Now other applications, wastewater treatment, engineering applications, nanoparticles are reinforcement agents, and engineering applications like sealant, like loudspeakers. But right now we are doing a large application, only wastewater treatment, which is happening in Kochi. We have already developed the process. What we have found is that using nanoparticles, the water can be purified, especially in villages and all. We are developing a very small, device where water can be purified. So probably in 5 months' time that we can use. And these are some of the selected publications. As I mentioned, we have got an extremely very good, about 40 publications. And normally companies can't produce, but then Genome could develop so many papers, because what we have developed is a basic fundamental research and a device, a product. So that's why it was easy for us to publish a lot of papers. So this is an example of a successful company. This is I'm going to stop here. And I was invited in 2007 by the current PM to talk on magnetic nanoparticles, and in Gujarat they have also initiated a nanotechnology, various nanotechnology support services after that. And so I'm not going ahead with more, because I think the time is over. Dr. Planeta, can I stop here or continue? If some questions are there, you can ask.
Hello, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was very informative. Unfortunately, we missed it this time. I mean, probably next time. Anyway, I would like to tell that he is our Board of Studies member also of the Department of Biochemistry. So, I think now we can, few questions is there we can take.
Yeah, just I wanted to also tell that we could bring Professor Adayana 3 times to our country in the last 4 or 5 years, and we have got several awards, including recognized by Startup India and also DSIR approval, plus BRAC grant, BRAC awards. So that's because of novel technology. And what I suggest is that somebody who is interested to develop new company or new startup, you should take up projects like this, something which people have not touched and where there is a product development is possible, so that eventually in 2 or 3 years time can be successful. Thank you. You can ask any questions now.
Yeah, hello, Dr. Ramchand. I am Professor Swapna from Department of Physics. So the presentation that you have shown, because my PhD topic was in ferrofluids. So
What should have done
in Cochin University of Science and Technology under Professor Ibaran. So so we were working in the field of magnetic nanostructures during my entire from 1999 to 2006. I was working in the field of ferrofluids. We have also made some couple of devices like a speaker, then one optical emitter device based on ferrofluids. Especially, I was so fascinated by looking into your work because it is in line with the work that we are doing. So I had a couple of questions regarding the surface engineering that you were doing to half the RNA extraction. Because if it is not IP protected, I just want to understand what kind of surface engineering.
Everything you can do, I can tell everything is published and source of product. Yeah.
So because I want to ask why, because charges will be there of course on the surface, but why it is so specific?
This question is already there. Why protein is not binding?
Yes.
Why RNA is not binding when we have to accept, which is not exactly correct. What I was, if you remember what I told you that there is, for example, in the entire thing, 95%, let's say we want to extract DNA, only DNA will bind, the other things will also bind.
Yeah.
For example, some people are asking RNA free. Now 100% RNA free only by using RNase reactivate.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that protein by a specific washing buffer is there, 100% protein can be. So that is the way which we have developed this. The same is the case with RNA also. Now when we are doing RNA, some DNA contamination is there, but not everyone is worried about that. If somebody is asking exclusive RNA without any DNA, then in that case what we do is that we give DNA. So all the DNA will get removed. Otherwise we will do that same from here. Protein we don't have to worry, nothing to be done. We have a washing buffer.
Okay. Yeah. Because right now I am collaborating with Dr. Rajendra for the nano drug formulation. So the last part of your slides you have shown a couple of nano drug formulations like doxorubicin with magnetic nanoparticles. So there also the surface engineering, you have shown some couple of connections, connecting agents, means surface stopping agents to coat. So I just want to understand. So if you are how to keep, because when we are coating functionalize the nanoparticles on surface and then trying to attach the enzymes or any of the other functions, whatever be the functionalities that we want to add. So then one of the charge piece, either it can be a NS3 group or COH group or some other group will be there that will go and attach to the surface engineered nanoparticles, right? So then will it kill the properties of the enzymes or whatever be the things that we are going to coat? So that is one question.
Can you see? No, you can't see. You can see. Okay. I'm just seeing there are. Okay, now since I didn't get sufficient time to explain to you.
Yeah.
Now, whatever we have, the coating procedure is very, very different. For example, how we have done protein. Now, protein is immobilized. Normally, at a particular pH, the protein will bind. The only thing is that how you can prevent the elution process. That's why we have processing that with the epichlorohydrin. So that process, what we have developed is our own method, is that is the process what we have patented. So the other things like, see, let's say we are talking about the protein. Protein is bound, and after that we are immobilizing using a cross-linking with epichlorohydrin. On the other hand, let's say that citric acid. If you want to coat with citric acid, the procedure itself will bind, and you have seen that it doesn't leave out easily. So we are doing that. Now we are also selling all these coated, amino acid coated, citric acid coated, and in that one we are not doing anything, only except for protein or antibodies, antigens, protein A, protein G, where we are using our own technology. Otherwise, no linking is done.
Okay.
No chemical linking like carbon might do, then activity is lost.
And no surface engineering is required for attaching siRNA also?
See, everyone is using surface that they teach in our method, we are not doing.
Okay.
Everyone is using either protein coated, carbohydrate coated.
Yeah.
Similar, but then in our method we are not using.
That's why I was so surprised. That is wonderful. Yeah, because there is no then if I am making some fluorescent nanoparticles, I need not worry about the punching of the fluorescence. If that is why I specifically asked about that. If I make something which can have both fluorescence,
Yeah, we are right now developing that one.
Okay.
Fluorescent pack without coating.
Without coating, that's what I asked. Okay.
What is happening is that as a commercial organization, we have to be very careful. What are the patents currently available? Now we are doing something following. See, for research purpose it is fine. Nobody will catch you. But then if ours is successful and by chance we are using somebody else's method, then there will be a great problem, because we already got, for example, the saliva collection kit we developed, and we got an infringement order from from Canada. Then we could exactly explain that it was a clear art. That is what we developed, and our the formulation buffer is something very different. So when we are using, we have to be very careful. That's why we are using our own technology. But then if you have any plan to commercialize, the first thing, for example, if you are asking me for commercialization, but the first thing is that I will see any infringement in your method.
Yeah.
So if it is research purpose, please do that. If it is not research purpose, you have to go through the patents.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a very interesting topic because in a short span of time we have introduced so many.
Where are you, in Cochin University?
No, right now I'm working in Central University of Kerala. So I have.
Sorry, which university?
Right now I'm working in Central University of Kerala. So I'm the pioneer of the program. Yeah.
Okay.
So we talked earlier. I'm already started in bio-related research.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Sorry, I was to come there. Unfortunately, I could not.
Yeah, I know that. He told me already. Anyway, next time we will meet in person for more discussion.
I should be coming soon because me and Dr. Clement has planned few things. Even for the board of studies also I could not come. Everything was on the line.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Sir, one more question.
Yeah, sure.
So, sir, section is very nice. Can you hear?
Thank you. Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, during this section you have mentioned that naked particle, right? Base nanoparticles.
Correct.
Basically, if magnetic or metal nanoparticles face one problem during the synthesis, the agglomeration. How do you avoid? Because there is no surface modification, no capping agent. That is one question.
But what will happen is that if both positive charge and negative charge is there, what will happen? The agglomeration takes place. But if you focus on making it to, let's say, positively charged, there will be repulsions will be there, agglomeration will not take place. So what I suggest is that if you are making nanoparticle, adjust the pH in such a way. Maybe you make various pH, either a higher pH or a lower pH, and you can see no agglomeration, and that's what we are doing.
Okay, another small question is that you mentioned that targeted drug delivery.
Yes.
So is it possible without any targeting agent?
See, the targeted drug delivery until now people are doing using, for example, let's say liposomes. You incorporate your drugs in the liposome and the surface antibody is kept. For example, it's a cancer treatment. The cancer surface antibody is bound to the surface of the molecule or surface of the liposome or nanomembrane. That will automatically go. So we were trying to do using nanoparticle where a magnet will be kept. So that's what one of the examples I have seen, one of my PhD students, but then that was a limited work we have done. I know the commercialization is very, very complex. A small company can't do, and nobody was successful till date. Because I know one big company came up in the US and failed everything. That is for cancer, this drug delivery using nanoparticle. So that's why we are not focusing much on any of those in therapeutic application. Probably once we become big, we can do that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Because I was working on
But your purpose is as a part of like PhD students work and all.
No, I am an assistant professor, sir. I graduated from Taiwan.
Or your PhD students work, isn't it?
Yeah. I am working in this area 10 years, last 10 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any question from student side or scholars or somebody? No. Okay, then I think you can wind up. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Meet you soon in the campus. I mean, very soon. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for spending time.
Kerala Literature Festival, but then I will try if possible. I know that's very far.
Yeah. It's a distance is there. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Now,
Yeah, please conclude.
now we
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, collecting.
Now we will have a short tea break. All are requested to return to the venue after 10 minutes.
Only 10 minutes, please, because we are running short of time.
Yeah, okay. Okay, she's professor. Yeah.
It's a video, huh? Yeah, video. This you can give. Some window will be there. Where you are thinking. Okay. I will tell you. I will tell you. I will operate with this. This also. Okay. This I will come. What I will do, students also. All the students also. My application. What's the application? I hope this.
Starting, yeah. Yes. This is that university. Really? Yes, mostly. Oh my God. Yeah. 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 Because the problem is they.
He asking to go. പ്രോഗ്രാമായിട്ട് അറിയില്ലേ എന്നോട് ഇപ്പൊ ആരുടെ
All the participants are requested to be seated for the next session. Please note, all the participants are requested to be seated for the next session.
We shall continue the session with a talk on intelligent design of sustainable nano-biofunctional materials for advanced applications. I invite Dr. Vinod V.T. Padal, Technical University of Liberec, Czech Republic, to deliver the lecture.
Let me introduce the speaker to you. Dr. Vinod V.T. Padal received his PhD in biotechnology from Acharya Nagarjuna University. Currently, he is an associate professor at the Institute of Nanomaterials, Advanced Technologies and Innovation, Technical University of Czech Republic. He is also a visiting faculty at Water Soluble Polymer at the Center for Water Soluble Polymers, Glasgow University, UK, and Macromolecular Chemistry, Bath University, Germany. His research interests include green synthesis of nanoparticles, environmental bioremediation using nanostructures, fabrication of nanofibers, and development of functional materials for advanced applications. He has featured in 2% of world's most cited scientists by a group of authors associated with class biology, Elsevier and Stanford University in 2020 and 2021, respectively. So let's welcome the speaker. He will be talking about intelligent design of sustainable nano-biofunctional materials for advanced applications. So the session will be for 30 minutes, 25 minutes for the talk and 5 minutes for the interaction.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sokhan, for the introduction, and good morning to you all. So, I'm very happy to talk about topic on intelligent design of sustainable nano-biofunctional materials for advanced applications. And thank you for inviting me to give a talk about this subject. Yeah. So before going to the topic, so I'm coming from Technical University of Liberec. It is in Czech Republic, near to Prague, and the institution building is called Center for Nanomaterials, and these are the main campus of the university. And Czech Republic is surrounded by other European countries like Germany, Poland, Slovakia, and Poland. And our university is situated in northern part of Czech Republic, in Liberec. Yeah. We have different departments on it is nanomaterials in natural sciences, and Department of Environmental Technology, and Department of Nanochemistry, and Department of Applied Biology. And we have around 200 scientists and more than 100 researchers working in this.
Just a minute, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Today I'm going to talk about functional materials synthesized by green engineering. So, yesterday you heard about Professor Rajeev's talk about preparation of the functional material by different engineering techniques. So, I will mainly talk about how this functional material can be prepared and developed by green engineering techniques. So many researchers used bio-based material and for making the different functional products, and these are the main bio-based products available in the nature, like botanical grade, seaweeds, animal, bacterial, and tree gums. So what are the importance of these materials? They are biocompatible and biodegradable in nature, and they are very less expensive, and there are plenty available in the nature, these materials, and they have very complex structures, and they generally called as hydrocolloids, and they have very functional group like hydroxyl, carbonyl, carboxylic acid, and amino acid, so they can be easily functionalized. That is the importance of this material. And these materials are used in food, pharmaceutical, and environmental, and energy, and biomedical areas. So we have been working on materials based on tree. They are tree gum polymers. So here I would like to talk about what are the different functional material we are making from these tree-based polymers. So I will show you about how we make carbon and micro nanostructures, and their application is energy harvesters and supercapacitor electrodes. And there are some functional based material for making films, sponges, and fibers, and their application food packaging. And these biopolymers are using for the green synthesis of novel nanomaterials, and the application in catalytic degradation of environmental pollutants. So this is roughly about the tree gum polymers. These tree gums are produced by natural defense mechanisms. So when you cut the tree, the solution is come about the stem of the tree, and it will become hard under the sunlight, so you can easily collect them. So I would mention that India is the most exporting country of these gums in the world. So these gums are exported to US, Europe, and other places. So these are non-toxic material, and these gums can also use as an edible form. So what are the different mechanisms by which this tree gum produced by the tree? It can be by microbial attack or mechanical injury of the plant, and the chemical injury, and water stress, and insect attacks. Yeah, this process of forming a gum from the tree is called osmosis. And it can be collected as different grades, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and they can be milled to powder for various application sections. And this is the importance of the tree gums. These materials can be used for the sustainable development and the replacement of oil-based chemicals and plastics. Even they are very cost-effective, and they are biodegradable, non-toxic in nature. And these are the major areas in the world where tree gums are produced. So you can indicate it in red mark. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this tree gums. So they are 100% bio-based and they are renewable and abundant in nature, low cost, biodegradable. And the disadvantage is that they are highly moisture sensitive and they are very low film forming properties and poor mechanical and poor barrier properties. So we need to functionalize them to improve all these properties. So what is the structure of these gums? Actually, they are basically sugar molecules around mono sugars, di sugars and disaccharides. So if you hydrolyze these gums, you can end up in mono sugars and di sugars. So mostly these gums are used for, as I told, the food applications. So we really work on the non-food applications of these gums. Mainly we use these gums for green synthesis of different nanomaterials and production of electrospin fibers by electrospinning techniques. And these gums can be used for bioremediation of removal of toxic materials or pesticides from the environment, and they can use their biocatalysis and some many biomedical applications and food packaging films, fibers and energy harvesting applications and oil water separations and EMI shielding. So mainly the three grades of gums are produced from the tree. Grade 1 mostly used for food and pharmaceutical application. But this grade 2 and grade 3 considered as bio-based. Generally, they are thrown away material. So we mainly concentrate on work on bio-based, like grade 3 and grade 2 gums. So these are the recently published paper on functional material of these tree-gum polysaccharides. So if you are interested, you can read this paper. So we are given this. In this paper, we gave gum explains the various applications for stabilization of nanoparticles, synthesis of nanofibers, and their application in heavy metal removal, antibacterial properties, and absorption of toxic material by using the gum fibers. So here in this talk I have to mention some of about how we synthesize the nanoparticle by green protocols and how do we electrospin these gums to make it nanofibers, and how we develop the tree-gum based sustainable products like films, fibers and sponges for many potential applications, and lastly for application in environmental, food and energy harvesting field. So this is a general biology, everybody knows biogenesis synthesis of nanoparticles and this mechanism. So here we use tree-gum as a stabilizer agent and reducing agent to make the nanoparticles. So in our laboratory we have synthesized metal nanoparticles and metal oxide nanoparticle by using a simple treatment. Suppose if you want to make a silver nanoparticle, just take the gum or polymer solution and silvernate as a precursor, heat it at 45 degrees Celsius, you get a silver nanoparticle. So like gold, platinum, and copper oxide, palladium, iron oxide, any nanoparticle we can easily produce by using this simple green synthesis way. No need to use any hazardous material. Normally people use sodium borohydride process things, but in this reaction we use only the gum solution and with the corresponding precursor to make the corresponding nanoparticles. Here I have shown the different characterization of the nanoparticles synthesized by this green method. And one more important thing, this iron oxide is a very oxidative environment, can degrade very fast. So by using this gum as a surfactant for this synthesis, so we can stabilize this iron oxide nanoparticle for more than 1 year in the room temperature. So it has improved. So this is a very nice TM figure. You can see that there is a core of zero iron nanoparticle and the surrounding structure of the gum to protect the zero iron nanoparticle from the degradation. And the next step is how we synthesize the bioplastic out of these bio-based gums. Anyway, these are the gums that they are considered as bio-based. They have zero value in the zero value. So we could develop a product like various films by introducing different nanoparticles or other functionalize them to make a product. So here you can see as such gums, you see it cannot be have any property of making films, so it will get cracks. So if you improve the property by using graphene oxide in the system and you use here clay as a medium for synthesizing the bioplastic film from using gum as well as clay material, and we can do the physical and chemical modification using various steps to make films and improve the barrier property, physical properties and chemical properties, thermal property, etc. So these are the main objectives of how we can use by functionalization as to improving the mechanically stable freestanding films and these three gums, and how we reduce the hygroscopic property of these gums to make a hygroscopic property in hydrophilic to hydrophobic fibers, and improving the barrier property in the film by functionalization of the gums and the development of completely biodegradable or edible film by using these gums. And later we can use for some advanced application of this by using this tree-based gums. These are the process for making gum with the graphene oxide composites. So here is the protocol. So you use a different concentration of the graphene oxide and sonic time. We use only the water because these gums are easily soluble in water. So we don't use any organic material, organic solvent to prepare the solution, to prepare these films. And this is the films made out of these various tree gum polymers, and they are very flexible films and improve the mechanical and thermal property also. And we have already conducted different mechanical testings, tensile strength and modulus, and even the barrier property, oxygen and water vapor. So they are very good as compared with the material with the other methods and this method. So for the details, you can, if anybody interested, they can see these papers. So the next step is we have made a simple chemical modification by using DDSA, dodecane succinate anhydride. DDSA is organic material, it's a non-toxic material used as a food emulsion in many food applications. You can synthesize DDSA based polymer films for food packaging applications. These are the different steps. So you can easily find out how DDSA incorporated the gums by using NMR and FTIR techniques. And these films also potential antibacterial material. The advantage of this method is you don't normally people use silver nanoparticle for improving the antibacterial property. But silver again is a toxic material if you exceed the limit. But DDSA is not non-toxic, so this can overcome other metal nanoparticles using in films. Example, silver, copper oxide, all these materials. So we can just do the chemical modification DDSA, because DDSA is also a food additive material. So we can improve these property of the films like mechanical, thermal, and other barrier properties, and they are potentially antibacterial also. We have tested the antibacterial property of these films. These are the characterizations for the film characterization by EGA and other mechanical property. Yes, the result has been given here. Yeah, another method we use a natural clay, sodium activate. We incorporated with this gums, so we can just coating the sodium activate over to the film. It gives excellent barrier material. Barrier films can be produced. These are the various experiments we control the barrier properties and mechanical property of the clay-based gums. And you can see actually we can compare with many other potential food packaging material available in the market. So our material also has part with the food packaging material available in the market. And lastly, we made edible films out of these gums. It's a very simple method. We use this gum and make the dialdehyde formation, and with the chemical treatment, so we can make a dialdehyde conjugated gums. Here you can see actually it's just chip-based reaction with the dialdehyde with the gelatin. So finally, these films we have controlled. We did the mechanical and other barrier properties. They show excellent, and this we could develop as a edible film. So normally, even we can cover with this film with the chocolate, so you can eat chocolate with the cover. It actually with the packaging material, so no need to throw it away because this is completely non-toxic. Yeah, so we also tested with the mechanical barrier and biodegradation properties, and one of the important things are these materials shows more than 90% biodegradable. They are biodegradable in nature. So gum as such, pre-gum polymers are biodegradable in nature, and we made the functionalized. The functional material also shows very good biodegradation. So this means actually by adding the simple chemical treatment, DDSA, and with the clay material, so the biodegradation, it does not affect the biodegradation rate. And we further show that in various humidity, the film's properties, and they are completely hydrophobic in nature. And all this research work we have published in various journals. So all details of the things we can details of this experimental details also can be easily find out from this papers. Yeah, and we have used two polymers by making a conjugated format. Like this is a sodium alginate. Mostly people know the sodium alginates are algae-based polysaccharide, and KO is a gum material, pre-gum material. Both mixed together and casting, you can make a conjugated film. And this films also shows potential for food packaging applications. Yeah, the improvement of the property can again increase because they easily make a hydrogen bonding between these polymers. So they are hydrophobic in nature later. So it can be used for a food packaging material. So this work we have shown in this paper. So we can increase the hydrophilicity, hydrophobic character, and they are also biodegradable in nature, more than 90% biodegradation, and other important is they are recyclable. So again, you can make this film by putting in water, again you can cast it, and so they can reuse many times. So here I can show These are films we made for the food packaging application. They are very flexible films. Yeah, for the normal application for food grades, it is very easy. Just to keep the material for some time for the food storage, and they are good barrier property also. Especially for rice and other materials, so it can be used for use this material as a food packaging. And now I would like to show how we can electrospin this material to make a hydro the carrier bags or food packaging material. So everybody knows this electrospinning is a good technique. You can make a very large amount of fibers by electrospin machines. So we have a electrospin machine in our laboratory. You can produce a large amount of fibers. Anyway, principle I am not going to, everybody knows maybe I think so. So this is a gum solution just in water. You make it and spin to make the fibers by using the electrospinning machine. And if you make a very big electrospin maker, then you can convert it to a electrospin bioplastic carrier bag. So what is the advantage of this? This can be thrown anywhere because these are naturally biodegradable. We are not adding any toxic material in this bag, only a little amount of EVA to improve the spinnability of this solution, EVA with the tree gum solution. So I can show you the, this is the same thing, so maybe some videos how we make it this biomembrane out of this tree gum. So if you can have the powder form of this gum, you can make it into a powder form and mix with the water, make a solution of this gum and feed it into the electrospinning machine. So electrospinning machine produce large amount of fibers. So just take this fiber, just I am showing you one piece of fibers out of this work. And you can do different testing like if you want to make an antibacterial, you can make a gamma treatments, you can make plasma treatment to make again a hydrophobic material. So they are stable in water. So for the normal food packaging, these covers can be changed to a bag type or pouches, whatever you want, because we can be able to produce it very large amount of electrospin fibers out of this. Normally, if you go to market, everybody packed with a normal plastic. It's not environment friendly. So you can use this type of packaging and give it for packing food. So this packing food you can throw anywhere, or you can recycle to make it again bring it to the electrospinning to make it the same type of fibers again. Recyclability is 100% in this case. Or you can convert it to a bag form and carry the food to home, and later you can throw or you can recycle it back. Yeah, so these are the other applications of the natural polymers. If you use electrospinning, these fibers can be used for water treatment, for renewable energy, biomedical research, food industry, and biotechnology. So the various people work on various application of this natural polymers with the electrospinning fibers. And this paper has been published in the Sustainable Energy Chemistry. Yeah, then how we can make this simple answer in the hydrophilic writing boards actually, you know. Just make it please. This first. Because we have developed a very simple method by using these films by casting, and you can write whatever you want on this, in this film. So I think this idea we can use as a writing board, or even for going to school children we can use as a slate, because they can use it and this is biodegradable. If they leak also, nothing will happen. This is completely biodegradable in nature, and whatever you are written, you can easily rub it by rubber. So these films are very flexible also. You can recycle this plus. Suppose if you don't want this, just put it in water. It will become solution form. Again cast it. Again reuse it. So other form again. This is about the hydrophilic because this polymer film is soluble in water. So we can make a hydrophobic also. Just make a other treatments, chemical treatments. This can prepare water like anything. So you can see actually this is from DCA railway station. So we can make it. So in this case you can make water soluble film and water insoluble film. So it depends upon your application. Yeah, this is another thing for the covering of pharmaceutical. Just please. These are very flexible films. So once you make the film, yeah, you can keep it your pharmaceutical just as an example, I have shown the tablets, just packing and keeping. And once you, if you don't want to remove, if you don't want to use these plastics, again you can recycle it. Just put it into the water. It will become solution of this polymer. And you can recast it, make the film. So I mean this recyclability is very important of such films. We are not throwing as a waste. We are again you can recast it and make it the original film form. Yeah. So next I want to show how we make it the sponges. Yeah, we have used different sponges by using this combination of two gums just by freeze drying method. And this sponge can make this two solution of this polymers can make this a sponge type, and you do the silylation, so then you can make a hydrophobic sponge. What is the advantage of this sponge? They are water contact 130 degree, and they are high porosity in nature and very low density. Density using 18.4 milligram per centimeter cube. So they are biodegradable. We have tested the biodegradability of the sponge. They are biodegradable in nature. After silylation, this also shows about 76% biodegradation. And this can be reusable many times, and mechanical strength is good, and environmental friendly sponge. So this work has published in Advanced Functional Materials, how we synthesize and how we use this sponge for oil water purification. So I will show you detail. Yeah. Can you click it this? This is mixed with the diesel in water. Just so take. Okay. See like the sponge. Just you dip it. So you can remove the diesel from the water. Because we made a little color to show the diesel in water. There's a red eye, red ink. Yeah, that can easily, within a fraction of a second, we can take it out the oil from the water. Take another, this one, this was crude oil actually. Normally in the mechanical repairs, so many people use the crude oil. How they remove it actually? It's very easy to remove the crude oil by using this sponge. Just sponge you take it, it will take it out. So you can remove the crude oil from the water. So mainly we can use for water purification systems. Yeah, this is another very important method. When you use the organic material in the laboratory as well as hospital anywhere. So take it, yeah. You can use the take it out the chloroform from water. This is very easily you will take out. This can be used for very usually used for organic laboratory where you handle the chloroform. Suppose chloroform is spilled when you do with the chloroform in the food or any places, you can just take it out the chloroform by using this sponge. Yeah. So what is the real mechanism of this? Is a very simple mechanism, the capillary action. Because the sponge have high porous in nature. it have a lot of pore inside the nature, inside the sport, so it will easily absorb by a capillary action. There is nothing secret. Another, we are not using anything else. So this is how we do the sterilization. That is also simple method as well. And we tried many organic material by using the details you can get in this paper, as well as many organic solvent, chloroform, ethanol, diesel, and this and toluene and waste oil, XA. So all this can be very easily removed from the water. Okay, just 5 more minutes. This is for dye removal. The same principle. You can use this sponge for methyl blue and methylene orange from water contaminated. Yeah. And now I want to show how we can use this gum waste to make a high performance battery materials and energy harvesters. So we have this is a process. When you use a gum waste material, then we pyrolyze it for 800 degrees Celsius under nitrogen, and you can make a carbonized gum waste. These carbonized gums, again with some treatment with KIOS you can have micro or nano carbon material that can be used for energy. Use the electrode. You can convert. You can use this material for electrode applications. And one more thing I want to show it. Actually, this is again we have did work with the collaboration with Central University of Kerala. So this is titanium oxide gum Arabic carbon paste electrode for the detection of lead ions in the plastic toys. This work also has been published in the issues of Omega. And how we make it the gum waste into active material for energy harvester, the procedure we have given here. So when you make the tree gum, then we make it the carbonized form. So this is the results, what temperature we do the carbonization and heating and other treatments, and the final for the carbon structures, yield and all those things as given here. And this is a picture for TEM and HRTM analysis of the carbon particles, microstructures. And this is a surface area of these carbon materials. This is ice and volume. So then we make it into a waste form to make a electrode material. Yeah, this can be just this is collaboration. Just yeah. So yeah. This work has been in collaboration with KHK South Korea. So this can be used for this method for utilizing this micro and nano porous carbon sheet for energy harvester, fast evaporation of water. So this carbon material can be produced for illuminating the logo of the university for 24 hours. You don't bring the current from any other places. Actually, by using this carbon-based material, so it can be used for. So this work has been published in the Green Chemistry. So more details you will get in this paper. Yeah. And lately we find out how we make a CNT functionalized biopolymer game for EMI shielding. This is an important field nowadays. People are working on this. People are working on that. So we made a film out of this, and 2 films we have made it. One is hydrophilic and hydrophobic film. It depends upon your application. You can make different films out of this carbon nanotube. So one film you can see actually it can be easily soluble in water. So depends upon your application in EMI shielding, you can use this both type of films. that also you can find it. This film you can say is a CNC incorporated three-gum film. You can easily make a colloidal solution. But if you chemical modify it, so it can be sustained in water forever, so no problem. There is no leaching out of carbon minerals on the anymore. System I am showing you have 1000 RPM in the shaking out, but nothing happened to the if you are functionalized the. This is just the film. You see, it is very flexible film, so you can fold it. So you will not get any crack in the film, nothing. So it is very highly flexible in nature. Now later we incorporated in this sponge by silver nanoparticle. These are also very light material. So we made a silver sponge. So this silver sponge also very good flexibility. I think you can cut it in different pieces like this is blade, the sharp edge. So with a different application you can use this sponge or this fiber, especially for water purification or other methods. And the same sponge can be purified methyl orange or dye solution from water, because here you can see this, the sponge is fixed in that, and we are continuously passing the methyl orange from the solution. You can get a pure water, pure without dye solution. This is a method for making the silver nanoparticle sponge, and we have tried the mechanism. We have given here how the methyl orange methylene blue getting degraded and absorbed by this sponge, and especially with 4-nitrophenol production to 4-aminophenol. And because of the silver nanoparticle, they show potential antibacterial property also. And now we are making this material, these electrospun fibers for using various applications. We can use antibacterial band-aid and the green tissue paper and the sanitary napkins and this black type clothing daily use for to help the society for biodegradable and natural material. Some materials are functionalized, most of them are functionalized material. And with the silver, this one, we have made a nice 20 km MXC biocomplex and the 3D sponge, and we made this 3D furnace for SCRS cutting. Because as I show you, we can cut it very nicely, so we can have very little, so we can use for biosensing applications of this sponge for detection of pollutants in water or many other techniques. Finally, again, we are trying to use various treatments for electrospinning and 3D printing techniques, and use for making separator for lithium-ion batteries and other environmental remediation for photocatalysis water splitting. I have no time. So, what is my conclusion? So, we have made a very plant-based or tree-based, green and sustainable material, and it can make different films, fibers, sponges. So carrier bags, so that they are applicable to many fields. And this is our team working on this. And I do acknowledgement to our funding agency and head of the department. And thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod, for that excellent presentation with almost all the work that he was told. Showing us maybe it can be, if he can start a company soon selling these products, I have to say, because all are product-based research. As the session is getting so late, you can interact with the speaker during lunchtime, I think. And we will proceed with the next session soon. Let me invite Professor Imar Anitharaman to felicitate the speaker with the memento.
Isaac Trivandrum on design strategies. Professor Isaac Trivandrum on design strategies for all solid state batteries. I request Professor Sotna S. Nayak to introduce the speaker.
Hello. Is it audible?
Yes.
So let me introduce the speaker as the session is running late. Let me introduce the speaker first. Professor M.M. Shaijuman received his PhD in physics from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. He spent more than 3 years in the United States as a postdoctoral research fellow at RPI, Troy, New York, and Rice University, Austin, Texas. And he was a student of political medicine. And he is currently working as professor at Isaac Trivandrum School of Physics. His research interests are in the area of nanomaterials and energy storage and conversion, focusing on the synthesis of novel nanostructures, design and development of efficient energy storage devices, mostly looking at the material science and physics of these systems. He has 3 US patents and 2 Indian patents filed. He is one of the co-inventors of paper battery, a flexible nanocomposite-based energy device which has been patented recently. And apart from this, I just want to say that he is a speaker everywhere, wherever a nanotechnology conference is held. And he is such a wonderful speaker, and let us hear from him. And the talk is entitled Design Strategies for All Solid-State Batteries. Let us welcome Dr. M.M. Shaijuman from Isaac Trivandrum.
Yeah, very good morning to everyone. Thank you so much, Sukna, for this kind introduction. You could have done this in a couple of sentences, but anyway. So, to begin with, my apologies for not, able to make it in person, to the conference. Unfortunately, because we got stuck with another meeting that we were organizing here. So, otherwise, it's a great event. You can see a list of eminent speakers over there, and it's a great effort from the team. So, thank you again for having me here, and really great to be a part of this. So I know the time is a bit short and trying to fit into this slotted time. So we'll talk about, I think, just before we went about talking about energy story, and I'm sure it has been discussed earlier also. So this is on all solid state batteries. So design strategies for all solid state batteries. And I think I don't need to mention this here, but all the way along, what we are trying to do is looking for alternatives for energy in terms of storage as well as conversion, right? Generation as well. But it's not just any energy that any form that you're looking at. It has to be cleaner, cheaper, and efficient. And that's precisely what material scientists all over are looking into in terms of basically coming up with new materials, new devices, and so on and so forth, right? So in this regard, I think at ICER, my group will be focusing on a couple of things. Of course, we do look at various materials in the form of 3D, nanomaterials, functional materials, composites, and things like that. But we do have a clear theme to look at both energy as well as environmental applications. When I say energy, mostly we look at energy storage, looking at different types of rechargeable batteries, capacitors, hybrid ion systems, and things like that. Recently, we've got into some of these methods where we look at electrocatalysis. Turns out that some of the materials that we look at are very interesting for the electrocatalytic application, and that's why we got into this one. And we also work on CO2 absorption as well as CO2 protection, which is again really exciting and a hot topic in this one, right? So catalysis is something that we've been working on different materials, in a way to engineer these materials so that this could be nicely used for electrocatalysis, hydrogen generation, for instance. We could see that the edges that we have looked at for a pyramidal or this kind of domain could be really found useful for hydrogen evolution reactions and things like that. But hybrid nanostructures for energy storage has been another theme that we've been looking at over the years. Trying to develop new materials, including organic materials, with a collaboration from my own colleague here. and otherwise different types of oxide materials and things like that we've been working on. And today for this, what I thought is I'll probably just very quickly give you an introduction on rechargeable batteries and move on to some of the advantages as well as the challenges that we face while designing our solid state batteries, right? So that's the idea, and of course you start from these two basic devices when you ever think of storing electricity, which is like battery, of course, that comes to your mind. Typically these are electrochemical devices. It is anode, cathode separated by a separator as you see here. When it comes to supercapacitor also, pretty much the device design looks similar, but of course there's huge difference in terms of the way the charge is stored inside this one. When the charge is stored electrostatically on the surface, that you get to have a lot of advantages in terms of quick charging and discharging, which reflects on your power capability. But as the charge is stored at the surface, you have little, or rather you have very less energy density. But that's exactly different, opposite here, because charge is stored well within the electrode material. You have huge energy density compared to the capacitors, but then it lacks, reasonable power, right? So you're talking about two devices which comes with, rather compromising or rather trade-off in terms of its energy and power densities, and that becomes even an issue when it really gets into application mode, right? So, for example, when you talk about batteries, the storage is needed at all scales, right? Not just for portable electronic devices that most of us are familiar with, right? But recently, I'm sure most of you are also familiar with automobiles. They also need batteries. We're talking about electric vehicles, electric mobility these days, right? And the other thing is important to also remember about the backup power grids, right? And also at the very, very lower level, like biochips, you talk about nanotechnology, you talk about nanocircuits, you talk about drug delivery devices. But one thing to mind is unless these smaller devices are self-powered, it's ridiculous to talk about, nano device, but because unfortunately the battery technology is far way behind compared to the electronics, technology. So you still need to have a bigger, battery to be attached with a very tiny electronic device. Unfortunately, that's the case, right? So very quickly to come back, let's forget about the miniaturized devices, but let's say applications that demand higher energy density, higher power densities. For instance, in the case of vehicle applications, right? Are we okay in terms of these, numbers, right? Precisely, if you look at it, that's really a huge challenge there, because this is something called a Renault code, which describes the energy density of devices versus power density, right? I said capacitors are pretty good in power, batteries are good in energy density, but then the number that we talk about in terms of applying these batteries in large-scale applications, including vehicular applications or smart grid applications, the numbers are very, very far off, right? So you need to have your devices designed such that it has much better energy density as well as much better power density. Okay, so none of the existing batteries can actually meet these demands. So what are the options? You want to build better batteries, right? What are the options out there? One thing is to have innovation in terms of lithium-ion battery technology. Let's say in terms of developing new electrodes, electrolyte materials, and that's what nanotechnology fits in, right? Can you actually think of coming up with new materials, right? New engineered materials that many of the speakers will be talking about. Or is there an alternative to lithium? We're backing enough of lithium, but unfortunately, lithium is getting depleted. You don't have enough lithium, so that's something to be of big concern. Let's not worry about it. So, alternative to lithium, can we move on with sodium? Lithium similar to lithium chemistry, like sodium and batteries. Other ways, you talked about the trade-off. For example, the capacitors have huge power density, batteries have huge energy density. Can we not think of a hybrid technology where I can talk of one of the electrodes of a battery combined with another electrode of a capacitor? It still forms an electrochemical device. So I'm talking about taking the best properties of a battery, which is energy density, the best properties of a capacitor, which is power, and combine it. Can we do that? That's something called hybrid iron capacitor. This is something that we've been working on for some of the past years. Combining these two, for instance, this is a capacitor, this is a battery electrode where integration of lithium happens. This is a capacitive electrode, something like porous carbon, where adsorption of ions happen, right? So you end up getting a hybrid technology there, right? Of course, you can play around with it, making some flexible materials, thanks to graphene that we've added. We do make devices, lab scale devices, both pouch cells, coin cells, and things like that. But I just wanted to mention this. But that's not the case here. When we wanted to compare, when we wanted to talk about the present lithium manufacturing, I did mention about the challenges that we face. But what are the real challenges, right? For the students' part, this is how a lithium manufacturing works. So you have an anode, which is typically a layer material or here, which is like a graphite now. Most of the lithium manufacturing that we have this is the chemistry. You have graphite, you have lithium cobalt oxide at the cathode. So basically the lithium ion shuttles between these two. It just gets intercalated in between these layers, go back while you are charging, and it go inside this one, go to the lithium cobalt oxide, right? So during this process there are so many things happening. Safety is an important concern here because you are using liquid electrolytes. There is potential risk of electronic short circuit, which I'll explain it, right? And since you're using again liquid electrolyte, there could be a possibility, or not could be, there is a possibility of forming reaction products at the electrode-electrolyte interfaces, right? And again, you are using liquid, I cannot go beyond 55 degrees C, right? Because otherwise it evaporates and all sorts of issues are there. And most importantly, unfortunately, using this liquid electrolyte, we are stuck with a limit in terms of the energy density that's around 700 approximately watt per kilogram. Right? That's a requirement for the EV vehicles, but unfortunately for the lithium ion battery, we are stuck something around 250 to 280 watt per kilogram. So what are we going to do? Right? In order to completely, establish this EV, electric vehicle mobility, you need to have better batteries built and also to take care of these issues that concern our safety. And I'm sure, and these are something that I wanted to tell you, because when you're using liquid electrolyte, there is something called dendrites. The lithium will have an overshoot growth. Some sort of needle-like structures will form. And that needle-like structure is formed because of the reaction products formed, since we are using the electrolyte. And these needle-like structures for dendrite will pierce through the electrolyte, through the separator, and it short circuit. It touches the cathode, and of course it short circuits, right? So I'm sure many of you are familiar with these kind of pictures these days, right? You get to read from newspapers that look, a electric scooter got blasted, vehicle getting blasted because of this lithium-ion battery. It's a big concern, it's a big factor of concern, and this is mostly arising from these kind of dendrite formation and presence of this organic liquid electrolyte. So what is the way out? Right? Can we just get rid of this liquid electrolyte altogether and come back and say that look, everything is going to look solid, so there is no issue in terms of this safety problem? Number one. Number two is, we just talked about the limit of the lithium-ion batteries using electrolyte, liquid electrolytes, in terms of its achievable energy density. So once you move completely to solid state, when you're better off there, you can even increase your energy density as well, which would be very good for your vehicle applications. So what is a solid state battery? So typically in the liquid ion battery, which all of them are using now, you have something called liquid electrolyte in between, right? So now that is completely removed and that replaced with a solid electrolyte. That's totally different. Plus, instead of these anodes that we use in graphene, I'm using a lithium metal inside. So that may also improve the energy density, because lithium undoubtedly has a huge energy density. So it's basically a metallic, the solid state battery we talk about. Apart from that, a lot of other advantages. I mentioned about high energy density. You don't need a separator because solid electrolyte that we use itself is insulating in nature. So I don't have to add a separator there. Takes care of the design. Voltage, of course, you can increase the voltage. There is no worry about this volatile liquid electrolyte anymore. Non-flammable, absolutely. Safety part is taken care of. And you can come up with simple manufacturing process that takes care of your cost. And what more you need when you wanted to, worry about all, when you wanted to install this in your, vehicles, right? So, but the challenges are many. I mean, it sounds so simple, right? I can think of using the very same electrodes that is being used, for example, lithium carbon oxide or lithium iron phosphide, LiFePO4, right? Which has been established and it's been already running, installed, it is running in all the batteries. Let me take the same electrode here. Let me take lithium as the anode. You put a solid electrolyte, which is like a, sort of a disc or something, right? And try to assemble the cell. Unfortunately, the performance is very poor, right? Why? What are the reasons? Why? If you look at these cartoons, you can very clearly tell, right? For example, you're talking about something like this. These are solids and lithium. Now, lithium ion has to, get transported to the next electrode, to the particle, right? So, if I see a gap here, for example, there will be no transport because it is impossible to do that, right? So one has to worry about this, right? So the point is like, can we engineer these materials? Can we improve the interface of these materials? Can we, do the engineering interfacing, right? So that's precisely what we should do, because can you actually fill up these gaps with some materials which are equally conducting for the lithium ion, so that life is easier, there is no issue with that, right? So when you really want to think of these kinds of aspects, right, really, so there are two interfaces that are coming up. One is the cathode solid electrolyte, there is one interface, and the other thing is the anode solid interface, right? So think about this. I'm going to put two electrodes, let's say two metal plates, for instance, putting together. Right? There are three components, three together. So whatever you say, these are very closer, this is very tight, everything, but still, molecularly, if you look at it, there is still a gap between the two, right? And that's where we wanted to get rid of and engineer these interfaces, right? How can we do that? So for example, here clearly says, this is solid electrolyte I talked about, this is a lithium metal. Whatever closer you put it, there will be a gap here, poor contact, right? So when I say engineering in terms of this one is like, can we use a polymer which improves the interface between the two, so that the polymer, that green polymer that we talked about here, should also be equally conducting for lithium ion. Then only this thing works, right? But that's the challenge here, because the moment you start putting some polymer, it might react with lithium, that's bad. And some other polymer, it cannot go to higher temperature. Some other polymer, it transfers lithium already at very high temperatures. Lot of challenges out there, so we need to worry about so many aspects which is listed here. I'm not going into details about all these things, but let me remind you, these are really challenging tasks. And if you really look at it, people talk about solid-state battery, the future of batteries. I'm absolutely sure, I can very confidently say that, look, years down, definitely all of us are going to use solid-state battery. There's no way out. Absolutely, that is the immense potential that it has. But unfortunately, we are still not in a state to implement that in practical applications, right? So it is just, if you ask me what is the state of the art, then I would say, slowly some companies are coming up, but then otherwise it is just out of the lab, right? So we are a level of, let's say, 5 or 6. That's what we are talking about, right? Huge challenges. Number of challenges out there. We have to worry about every factor, stability, mechanical property, everything, right? So that's where we are. And I just wanted to mention this, sort of very happy to mention that, in fact. And we have a new consortium, set up at Icfmat. And this is by Department of Science and Technology out of India. And this is the first of its kind in India development, towards developing these solid-state batteries. And you can see that this is a consortium with around 14 institutes, about 16 PIs are involved. And at ICER we are leading this center. We have a dedicated center in terms of physical center. We have it. The center has just come up, so that's going to be exciting. And also I tell you, these days I'm sure many of the students also know this, because just one person or one team cannot work on this topic like this. So if you look at it, we have a team of people who work on DFT studies. They all bring their reports, and there are teams, individual teams who work on electrodes, electrolytes, device building. everybody comes together, and that's where we are very hopeful that we should be able to come up with something interesting in the next couple of years to come, right? So just wanted to mention this about this new center that has been got. Coming back to solid electrolytes, yes, we can talk about two different types of solid electrolytes. One is inorganic solid electrolytes, which typically comes about sulfides and oxide. Typically, these are acetone type solids electrolyte. And the other one is something called a soft, which is called a solid polymer electrolyte, which is mostly a composite electrolyte. I can talk about a polymer salt complex or even gel type materials, composite polymer electrolytes, everything. With the lack of time, I'm not able to go into detail, but this is just the definition of what are types of solid electrolytes are out there. It comes with different advantages, disadvantages. The sulfides are pretty good in conductivity, but then it has a problem with stability of handle everything inside the door box. It's a bit tricky. Oxides, of course, windows there, but then since the temperature is very high, and it also has various disadvantages and things like that, right? So recently we started working on these kind of solid polymer electrolytes. These are sulfide-based electrolytes, okay? NADP and spoke. So this is a completely solid electrolyte. Then you have the sodium, and replacing lithium with sodium. You have the sodium, but then I told you there is a problem with these interface. I have to bring in a modified interface here. Otherwise, the sodium that we keep here will not be exactly touching this electrolyte. There could be a gap which affects the sodium ion transport. Similarly, at the cathode also, we make a full cell like this. At the cathode also, we need to have a polymer coating, which is, as I said, the engineering, the interface thing, which we did it with a PO coating, having this one, right? So this device that we made, absolutely there is no, there's no single drop of electrolyte, liquid electrolyte that we have added. It is completely all solid state. You can see that. And what is the other novelty here is that, we have made this material through a very fast process. Many of you know, which is like microwave, right? This has been synthesized with, with the microwave assisted synthesis, and you could see that, the complete, the interface is shown here with this cross-section image, right? We characterize everything, it's all very good. And just quickly moving on to other type design. Another thing is, again, these are acetone type materials, lithium, aluminum, titanium phosphate, like LAGP call it. It also could be made using this high temperature sintering process, 850 degree. But what we've done is, along with this powder of these solid electrolytes, we've added MOF. Okay, we've added MOF here. And why MOF? Because MOF also has been reported that it can actually transport lithium or sodium ions, lithium ions basically, right? So we made a composite of this electrode with this LADP, which is the solid electrolyte, as well as MOF, right? And I'll very quickly go through it. This is a simple test that we do to understand how good your electrolyte is. We call it a symmetric cell test. Both sides lithium, we will put it in between your electrolyte, solid electrolyte, and you let the lithium to shuttle between these two through this electrolyte, right? So you can see that the hour potential should be very minimum. You can see here the blue one stands for the LATP with MOF. That shows a very minimum hour potential, which is very close to zero. Absolutely, that's what we want. So that material is working well. We went ahead and made a full cell. You see, the full solid state battery made, right? No liquid added. It is this mix of MOF and this LATP here as the solid electrolyte, and here one side you can see the interface here, right? And here also lithium is perfectly making a sort of interface with the electrolyte, and that is reflected here. You can see this is a full cell cycle polymer array with lithium iron phosphate as the cathode and lithium as the anode. It is cycled wonderfully, and we are cycling it very well. So, these are some of the techniques that one could use. Maybe a minute I conclude. And other way to look at it is like, these days people are talking about why do we really need anode lithium itself, right? Can we just take away the lithium, right? So that also simplifies your device structure, because lithium I can remove it. For example, if I just start with a copper, right, and deposit lithium, basically you're lithiating, right, the copper, right? So that lithiated cathode, that lithiated electrode would act as your anode basically. So you can get rid of this thick lithium That also helps in terms of safety as well. And that's one direction people are looking at. Very recent result from a group. And this is something that, many people are looking at. We are also working on similar lines here. Just wanted to mention that. I think I would probably summarize here. So, all that I've been trying to tell you about is the different ways of, designing this solid electrolyte or all solid state battery. I just took a couple of examples from our own work, which is one is about the the sulfide-based electrolyte that we have chosen. Of course, we did improve the interface both at the cathode as well as the anode with the polymer coating, right? That sort of helped us in terms of getting better performance for the all solid state sodium battery here. Whereas when we move on to the lithium, one of the examples that I showed is on again an acetonitrile LATP material, which is an oxide material, but we did take a composite of that with PTFE divisor as well as the MOF, and of course we did some saxonite, which is a polymer which is infiltrated at this site to improve the interface between the cathode as well as the solid electrolyte. So that's pretty much that I talked about it. Of course, as I said, it's a challenging topic. You can see the amount of work that needs to be done to address all these challenges. People need to come together, not just the experimentalists, but the theoretical, the modeling people, the automation people, everybody needs to come together. And that's the effort that we are at now. And hopefully in a couple of years' time, we should be able to bring up, better, or rather we should be able to build better solid state batteries or solid state batteries, right? Just wanted to announce it's too short and obvious because, we are organizing another conference which is starting in a day. In fact, it's from 5th to 7th at ICER, so nano engineer materials, broader topic, and that's one reason why I could not be there in person here also. And we do have a pretty good lineup. Of course, Sajid is also here, and many speakers are also going to present. Everybody is going to be here. So with that, I conclude here, thanking all my students, collaborators, and of course the funding agencies who Thank you so much, and we're happy to take questions if time permits.
Maybe after quick question, we can move to the next speaker. You can interact with Dr. Shaidu later, maybe through email, or you can leave the questions in the chat box, we may answer. So if anybody wants, maybe one quick question we can have, and after that we move to the next speaker.
I think it's fine, so maybe just looking at the time, probably we can move on, and people can contact me if anything.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Okay,
yeah,
let's...
I can see that is there already.
Yeah.
Sorry, I completely understand the time. I completely, but great effort, Sapna and your team, wonderful, and thanks again.
We missed you both actually. We don't like you. You can come anyway. Let's make it. Okay.
All
very nice. Yeah. Okay. So,
thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. An important announcement. Participants of short invited talk SI16 to SI21 and oral presentation O13, O27 to O36 are requested to submit your presentations to volunteers at Seminar Hall and Conference Hall respectively of Narmada Building before 2 p.m. The session commences at 2 p.m. sharp, so the participants are urged to submit presentations before the time mentioned. Please note, participants of short invited talk SI16 to SI21 and oral presentation O13, O27 to O36 are requested to submit your presentations to volunteers at Seminar Hall and Conference Hall respectively of Narmada Building before 2 p.m. The session commences at 2 p.m. sharp, so the participants are urged to submit the presentations before the time mentioned. Thank you. For the next talk, I invite Dr. T.A. Narayanan, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Hyderabad, to enlighten us on the topic, Engineering Atomic Layer Interfaces for Applications. I request Professor Swapna S. Nair to introduce the speaker.
Hello,
Yeah, I think you can cut short.
Yeah, that's okay. But is it audible to you? So your slides are ready with you, right? So we have loaded your slides. If some inconvenience happens from your side, we will project that slide. Anyway, let me give a short introduction to Dr. T. N. Narayanan. Dr. T. N. Narayanan received his PhD at Cochin University of Science and Technology, Kochi. He is currently working as professor at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, ADVAR, TAFR. And he is a visiting scientist at Friedrich University of Vienna, Germany. His research interests includes various aspects such as design and development of novel isotopic interfaces, designing of novel materials for energy technologies and environmental protection, light matter interactions, and fundamental studies on the carrier transport and heterogeneous electron transfer through salt and liquid electrolytes. He was a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, FRSC, in June 2016. He was awarded the Alexander von Humboldt Experience Researcher Fellowship in the year 2022. He also received the MRSC medal by Materials Research Society of India in the year 2022. Apart from that, as I mentioned about Shaiju, he is a wonderful speaker, and he is a speaker in almost all the international conferences in the area of nanoscience and nanotechnology. Let us all welcome T. N. Narayanan, and he will be talking on engineering atomic layer interfaces for applications. So the talk will be for 30 minutes, 25 minutes for talk and 5 minutes interaction. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sapna. And first of all, I'm audible, right?
Yeah, audible.
Hello, I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Yeah.
Okay.
Slides are visible also. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, please accept my sincere apology for not being there in person. This was again as a part of the conference. I have to do something here. Again, next time I'll definitely visit there and interact with the students. Before going to today's topic, let me briefly introduce our group at TAFR.